right, we're live. The Level 1
Whoa.
News, the live edition. We're only like 30 minutes late. Had some
Perfectly
technical
on time.
difficulties.
Perfectly on time, as usual.
We intended this. We may have forgotten we were doing a live stream today.
But
And
that's
then
not what
YouTube-
matters.
It's also the thermal shock of like, it was like 20 below zero the other day, and now it's like 80 degrees outside, and so the heating and ventilation system is just like, I don't even know. Had to thaw an ice block off the compressor.
Yeah. My HVAC is so close to being dead. And I was like, well, do I want it to die now?
Yeah,
Early
you
in
do.
the season? Or I think a fall death would be best.
You probably should
No,
also
you
start
won't.
recording too.
Like
You
one
want
of
it
those.
to die now before the next apocalypse event happens in June.
Can this handle a start recording alongside a...
We'll look for drop frames and hope for the best. How's the connection, everybody? Oh, the stream's current bitrate is a little higher than the recommended bitrate, so YouTube would like for us to lower the bitrate a touch.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Don't we have to restart it for that sake effect?
No, I think OBS will let you do it live now. No, under output. Try
It's great.
6,000.
That is a lot.
It's a live show.
What?
Numlock.
We also turned on our air conditioner this week.
Yeah. All right. So, how's it going, chat? A live news kicks ass. All right. If you can hear me say shillelagh. Or optionally onomatopoeia.
None of them are going to be able to spell that. I don't think I can spell that off the top of my
That's
head.
the joke.
I definitely couldn't.
Look at me explaining the joke.
We're so retarded. It's amazing.
That's hate speech. All right, we good?
Yeah, I'm hoping that everybody here in the chat. Oh, somebody just gave us $20. Weeb.
Thank you.
Weeb gave us $20.
Weeb. You can always count on Weeb to throw that money at you.
We're going to wait to the end to read. So first up, we've got government news as usual, and this comes to you live thanks to our patrons on Patreon and our Floatplane supporters. We're still working on figuring out how to do the Floatplane live sub. I'm actually upgrading Rosie to be able to handle a little bit more simultaneous streams and crap like that. The only reason we can record and stream right now is because Rosie's rocking 14 cores now. Rosie's our stream computer. Rosie the robot. So, on with the news.
So we got a little bit of a spreading of some of these stories across the categories. So we're gonna do a little bit of time skipping. We're gonna do this like a Quentin Tarantino movie. You know, so keep up with it. Oh, someone got a text
Don't play on your
message.
phone while you're watching. Otherwise you get confused.
You can do whatever you want. It's the presenters who shouldn't be doing that.
It might be like, oh God, you forgot to do something.
So let's start with bad news. Terrible, terrible news. And we have our current situation of the pandemic people versus the scared at home people. What?
Nothing. Just continue. Ugh.
The pandemic people versus the scared at home people. And the pandemic people are saying that this is just a big conspiracy to, grant the government more power. And unfortunately, a story like this only empowers them.
The Senate passes a surveillance bill without ban on web history snooping. Yes, the FBI is coming for your web history. Isn't that exciting?
Without a warrant.
I mean, we've got this program in the U.S. that we call the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. And we're surveilling nothing. We're American citizens.
Well, supposedly not. Now, you don't have to have a warrant, but you do have to have a court order. But that comes from a secret court.
That has a secret interpretation of the law.
And they don't ever reveal those. So, I mean, they do sometimes, but they don't have to. So, yeah, if they want to look at your browsing history, they're going to look at your browsing history. That's the score.
The Level 1 News, where you can learn about our march into our cyberpunk future one day at a time.
And as usual, the Hot Wyden and his cronies were against it, voted against it, tried to strip it out, tried to, fix it before it went through, but
Bernie wasn't there.
Bernie did not vote, yeah. And he's got no excuse. Well, he's a corpse, so maybe he should be indoors. But didn't they do, like, telecommunications or something?
Yeah.
Bernie.
Maybe he's just like, you know what? Screw these people.
Maybe he's been dead for the
Let
last
him
3
go.
months and nobody noticed.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Meanwhile, the government, they might be doing things remotely, but the Department of Justice is still going strong. Not to mention some of the states. And it's like the Department of Justice is big shark, and the states are the little pilot fish, and they're like, yeah, let's get them. And they've posseed up against the largest of their targets.
Justice Department and state attorneys general are likely to file antitrust lawsuit against Google, and the Wall Street Journal says. Now, this is on CNBC, but there was a lot of skepticism when this was first published. But then also Trump tweeted and was like, "Yeah, we're coming for you, Google," or something to that effect, and everybody was like, "Ugh."
The stars are out of order.
Oh no.
So yeah, this is mostly, well, we don't know exactly, but the leaks indicate that the Department of Justice one is mostly about the advertising, and you know how they snoop into everything, and they use all their products, and they use their that whole thing where if you buy advertising with them, they use that to, what was the company that bought ads to complain about the ad system?
Basecamp.
Yeah. So they're looking at that kind of thing, but it may be that each state attacks a different part of Google simultaneously to weaken them so that the main attack will be more successful. Find out more about it.
Yeah. No. I mean, I don't know. It's a mess.
Bad news for Google.
They're probably already scrambling internally to burn documents.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in the EU, they have their own problem with Google. Now, this is not the government going after it, but this is a privacy group who have looked at how the advertising ID works on Android and not pleased.
Google faces privacy complaint for tracking users in the EU. So, yeah, that whole this is not the Android ID one. This is just tracking with cookies across the web. And the Australian guy is the guy that has the Android ID, which is built into the OS, which is also a GDPR complaint.
With the paywall thing, I'm not sure, but I think this is the tracking one, right?
The Australian guy?
I don't think it's in the EU. Why would it be Australian?
Because the EU, like he was from Australia or whatever.
Oh, I don't know about that part.
Well, anyway, one of the complaints from Google this week was, to Google was, hey, you get this advertising ID, which is unique, and technically under the GDPR, that would be, unique information about me. So I would like for you to not keep track of that. But it's because it's built into the Android operating system. There wasn't really an easy way to remove it. So they just said no. And he's like, all right, GDPR to suit.
And they said that because it wasn't necessarily married to an email, he couldn't request it via the identity thing because they're like, we don't necessarily know who you are. We just know your ID.
And that doesn't matter under the GDPR.
He's like, okay, I want to delete. And they're like, yes, go to your settings and delete the ID. And he's like, I did. It assigned me a new ID immediately. And they're like, yeah, that's how that works. But under the GDPR, he argues that that's like saying you can cancel the contract by signing a new contract. That's exactly like the original contract.
Yeah.
So
it's like, no.
Maybe not quite the letter of the law.
I think the GDPR is going to have in the U.S., the California has a consumer protection thing that basically says you can use services without agreeing to the terms. I think GDPR in Europe is going to need something a little more explicit like that because that's implied, but it's not stated outright.
But they'll also have to let you stop it.
Yeah.
Which devalues Android amazingly.
They won't let that happen.
No.
The pandemic continues, and it's at a stage where I think the Civil War is now more concerning than
the cabin fever is apparent.
The virus itself. But the government keeps making demands based on the crisis, and maybe this is not a terrible one, but then again, it is a private business.
Democrats try to ban internet shutoffs until pandemic is over. Democrats also pitch $50 monthly discounts with low-income broadband fund. Basically, it's like, hey, we work from home. We need the internet.
It's almost like the internet should be a utility at this point in our history.
But if I'm a ISP, this terrifies me because the phrase "until the pandemic is over," because let's think about those emergency orders.
2023.
The emergency orders never go away once they're established. Like the web history thing. That is the Freedom Act, which came from the Patriot Act. That was 2001.
Listen, we're still in danger. We gotta keep that up.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger.
Might have been 2002 because it was in September, right? No, I think they got that right away, though.
Can you imagine a dystopian future when, the government, you get the Amber Alerts and the text alerts on your phone where literally everything is that way. And, just every now and then to get the people riled up, you get the alert and it's like terrorism alert, just letting you know the Patriot Act is still in effect. It's like, it's been 20 years.
Now, for this next story, chat, let's do a thought experiment. So let's do like an empathy exercise.
THOT or?
No. Thought. So close your eyes, put yourself in the mindset of a brilliant engineer, a physicist, an astrophysicist, and you've come up with this amazing new form of rocketry. And it's incredible. It breaks all kinds of new ground. And you've gone through 1 billion different military background checks and top secret clearance, and you've abandoned your family for months at a time because they won't let you leave the bunker, but you finally come up with it, and it's super, super secret, and you've finally done it. And then the president does this.
Trump unveiling the Space Force flag touts what he calls the new Super-Duper missile. So he was describing just an incredible feat of engineering wherein the missile is 3 times faster.
I think
almost.
Wasn't it 23 times?
No, I think it was almost 3 times faster than anything else that's out there. So
That sounds pretty super duper to me.
I think this might be, like a secret message to Putin. That's like, Putin's got those unstoppable hypersonic missiles, and it's like, hey, Putin, we got missiles that are 3 times faster than that.
17 times faster.
17, wow. Okay, I don't know.
I like to imagine in this photo that Trump is grabbing this guy's butt for the press op, and that's why the guy looks so uncomfortable.
He's got that middle finger just right up. And that guy's like, you're a professional. You're a professional.
The President of the United States.
Also, this is the flag that everybody was kind of weirded out because it's basically Star Trek.
Yeah, it does look like Star Trek. It looks more like Star Trek than I figured that it would, so.
Have you seen the video ad for Space Force yet?
The video ad for Netflix's hilarious series Space Force or the actual Space Force?
What an excellent lead-in, Krista, to the next story.
First US Space Force recruitment video wants you to find your purpose off the planet. And they're pretty heavy-handed with the messaging on this. They're like, oh, you could do it. It's like the Army of One commercials from when I was a kid.
I get a different impression from the one that I watched, which was basically like, are you not a normie that doesn't fit in on this planet? Well, your job could be on another planet and not this planet. So get to Space Force where you'll be in space.
And they claim that even though they created a recruitment video, they're not sure they need it because the response to people wanting to be on Space Force is apparently overwhelming. Although you got to go through the same military training, right?
Yeah.
I would think you do the minimum.
Yeah.
But then you also, if you're going up, you got to do like the astronaut training. It's a very select group of individuals.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore. Well, you're going to have to lose about 400 pounds.
But I also don't want to live in a space barracks. God, that's going to be terrible.
The space barracks is going to be exactly 3 inches larger than your form.
Are you moving the mouse because Krista is getting covered up?
Yes.
I'm going to move her down here. Did that? Yeah, okay, that's good. Because this is like exactly where I would always rest the mouse. People have complained about that. I've seen that. Now, this is the one that's a little bit out of order. So, this is where we tell you the end of the story. But don't worry, because it's not really a spoiler. The story is so rich, and many of you have probably already explored it, but this is the final retribution. This is the Empire striking back.
This is the last story for this week. California officials reject subsidies for Musk's SpaceX over Tesla spat. You probably already know. You saw the thing where, Musk was like, "I must open my factory. I will reopen it. It must reopen now. You can't stop me, Alameda County. I'm going to reopen." We've been covering it for a couple of weeks. Well, this is the newest escalation because California's like, "Oh, you want subsidies? Well, you threatened to move your headquarters, so we're not going to give you subsidies."
It seems a little childish for them to go after one company because of another company, but not as childish as Musk. So when they asked for a statement from one of the guys who made the decision, he was like, "You know what? Based on his behavior, I'm just not comfortable putting money into any of his businesses." And that's kind of fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair at this point.
That doesn't cost him any money. That would be money that would go to his workers.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more in the business section. But the other government part of this is when Trump saw the drama, he also tweeted, "Yeah, we should let him reopen. All of California should reopen." And we'll talk about that in the business section.
So I love it when Trump kind of gets on the conspiracy bandwagon with everybody else. So he's like, he's never going to be whole pandemic, but at the same time, you can tell he's reading some of that stuff. He's like, "I don't know, maybe."
No, his son today was like, "Oh no, this is all just to impact my dad's re-election campaign." And it's like, really?
Lord.
You realize this is an international incident, right?
I don't think he's gonna have too much trouble. Did you guys see that latest Biden video? It's just word salad. He's just like, the man has dementia. It's a joke, but it's not, because there's a non-zero chance that we have a president with dementia. And some of you are like, "What about Reagan?" Well, that was a little bit later.
I thought you were going to say FDR, and I was like, that's a little harsh.
But Trump, when he's not tweeting about Musk, he is beating that same dead horse that is the Chinese trade war. And the strikes have become much more severe this week. He has really taken new steps, the first of which was simply a reiteration.
Trump extends the order that curbs Huawei's access to the U.S. market. So that's the headline from Bloomberg. And this Bloomberg article didn't go into all of the steps. I think we might cover that a little bit more in the business section maybe. But a lot... Oh, no, there's a Reuters article. Okay, yeah. Well, we can talk about the Reuters article part of it too. Basically, Huawei has still gotten...
the next.
They got access to the U.S. technology anyway. And so Trump's like, no, we need to...
Well, there's a loophole, but that's also a business story.
Yeah.
So anyway, that extended the old order. But the old order didn't go far enough, so...
U.S. moves to cut off Huawei from global chip suppliers as China eyes retaliation. So the retaliation side is China's targeting Cisco, Apple, and some other companies that I've forgotten. Basically, China's going to be like, all right, you're not ready. Oh, yeah, there it is. China is ready to target Apple, Qualcomm, Cisco, and Boeing in retaliation against U.S.'s Huawei ban. So things are getting kind of dicey with Huawei because we got new phones from Huawei and we open them up. And it's like, wait, there's still a lot of U.S. parts in here. And it turns out that they can acquire those U.S. parts from third-party market because, surprise, they're components. It'd be just like they went down to Ace Hardware and picked up some electrical outlets. And it's like, wait, these are UL listed. They were made in the U.S., except they were chips made, somewhere else, just in a factory somewhere. And we didn't, they ended up at Huawei, but Huawei's not the one that bought them.
So the estimation of the Reuters writer here was that who's really going to be screwed by this is the foundries.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, who can we do business with? Who can't we? It's ultimately kind of on our shoulders.
There was a quote from TSMC in there that was like, we hired special counsel just to be able to deal with the rules. And we don't know yet because this is complicated and weird. We don't know.
I understand now the earlier confusion about the quote-unquote Australian, because the story was duplicated.
Oh, no.
Okay, yeah.
Australian
citizen. Austrian.
That's what it was.
Oh, no.
Also in the EU, that was just a reiteration of the Google ID story. Sometimes they go in there twice because, it's like, I'm confused.
Don't you get confused about things sometimes?
Never.
Is it Switzerland and Sweden?
It was never confusion that duplicated the story in the first place. So I would never be guilty of that.
Yeah.
Or you just forget that you posted it early in the week and you just post it again.
Except I did them all last night. France, in addition to, being on that GDPR bandwagon and going after Google for those kinds of things, they're doing their own special French blend of attacking the big tech companies. And we're supposed to have this international coalition to get together and be like, all right, guys, let's all agree how bad we're going to screw the tech companies. Let's get together. Let's have some coffee or tea or whatever you enjoy. Let's nail down a number. But then the pandemic happened. And everybody was like, you know what? We're going to put that off because the economy is going to collapse. So maybe not the time to do that. And France was like, nope.
France to impose digital tax this year regardless of any new international levy. It's funny that you say that about the whole economic collapse, because when the French people were questioned by Reuters on it, they literally said, we have to move forward with this levy like now because financially France is really hurt because of the whole pandemic. So we really need this money from these foreign companies to keep going. And like you're always saying, kind of tongue in cheek, like, oh, this is a massive pocketbook. Let's figure out ways to find them. And that's a great way to make money. They're being pretty transparent that that's actually what they're doing.
But if you smash the Google stock price, it ain't a French exchange that goes down. The French stock indexes will not be affected by that. So, hey, what? Huh?
Krista, what were you going to say?
I don't remember now.
Well, Krista, that was 5 seconds ago.
I know. This week was rough, and it's fine. But it was rough this week.
Did you, well, let's take a little pause then. You can collect yourself. You were planning to get out of the house yesterday. Did that take place?
I did. I went and visited my mom for the first time in 3 months.
So what was that like?
It was weird. I couldn't give her a hug, and we had to sit far apart and wear masks.
Oh, wow. No one takes this as seriously as you, Krista. I've not met
my mom
anybody.
has 3 risk factors. I don't want her to get sick.
Did you take the dog?
No, I didn't.
I was going to say there'd be no way you could keep the dog.
The weather guy said it was supposed to rain. It didn't. And I was like, well, there's no point in taking her and then putting her in her crate the entire time. Usually I let her play in the yard, but if I'd known it wasn't going to rain, I would have taken her. Anyway, weird week.
Interlude over.
Weird week. Yeah.
Back to France. Now, we have a lot of weird things, a lot of clampdowns going on in the wake of the pandemic. As always, the government never lets a crisis go to waste. But France is taking it maybe a step further when it comes to online speech. And this is really scary.
France passes a law forcing online platforms to delete hate speech content within 24 hours. What is hate speech, you might ask? Kind of a lot of things.
Just ask her. She's going to be the one telling you what hate speech is. And that's the problem.
Also, within 24 hours seems awfully optimistic.
Not even 24 hours. Now, if this is regarded to be endangering children or terrorism, it's 1 hour. Which, you got to have somebody on staff full time, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
not full time. You got to have 3 people
law
working.
Enforcement have people on staff full time to combat this kind of thing, and they can't do it either?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So yeah, it's a little ridiculous, and it's the old. So I think the original fine or the first fine is like 10 grand, but they have the option of going the full. Was it like 10% of revenue?
Yeah.
Which is massive.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't take down a beheading video. You take down a beheading video in 63 minutes instead of 60, and boom, there goes all your profit.
France really hurting for cash, huh?
Well, I think everybody is, but
Yeah.
once again, if they just bankrupt a tech company, yeah, guess who that hurts? Guess whose stock market that hurts? Meanwhile, in Africa, they've got some good news. However, when you look at the ownership here, perhaps a little bit of concern. If I were an African, I'd be like, hey, hang on a minute.
Africa's internet link improves with a $1 billion Facebook cable. Wait, what? Yeah, Facebook is running fiber optic to the Horn of Africa. Is that right?
It's going from Europe through the Middle East to Africa.
Okay, yeah. So, and Google was involved in this somehow too. Like Google helped smooth the way or pave the way.
No, Google's the other one, right? The other player here is China.
Hmm.
So you've got Facebook and China in charge of all the communication coming into your country.
That seems like not a good idea.
We've done other stories where the Chinese Communist Party is like, yeah, we're going to help Africa. We're going to bring them into the information age. We're going to give them all this equipment. And the Africans are like, we think they're spying. But we need this. So,
hey, can we have any ownership in the things you're giving us? No.
No.
No, absolutely not. No local people will benefit from this in terms of ownership or like a leg up.
In fact, any local brilliant people you have that use the internet to invent something or do something amazing, we own that too.
Now, there are times when we've talked about doing videos on this channel, but we were like, oh, you know what? We better not do that because in some ways that might facilitate something that isn't advertiser friendly. And you have to be really careful about that.
Yes.
And in that, we were just thinking, you know, we're going to get demonetized or, you know, get like a strike or something. You wouldn't want that. But oh boy, did it go a lot farther for this fellow from Brazil.
Court fines YouTuber for posting IPTV piracy tutorials. So he didn't actually post any pirated material, although in a technicality, the court found that he kind of did. But he just posted like how to do this yourself, like how to install add-ons or plugins or whatever and get free TV from elsewhere. And so this is one of the ones that kind of flew under YouTube's built-in system because it's just showing you how to do it, not actually giving you the information. Well, on the first pass in the Brazilian court, they said, this doesn't really rise to the level of anything super terrible, but, you know, he's going to have to pay lawyer's fees or something like that. It was something really minor. And then both sides appealed that. And then this is the ruling from the appeal, which is much more severe.
Now, the letter of it, the way it's worded here, says 10% of his YouTube revenue since he posted that video.
Yes.
Now, you would think it would be just for that video.
No.
But based on that language, I'm not sure if that's true.
No, it sounded like it was for the entire channel.
Which is...
That's massive.
Madness. So he does kind of the same kind of stuff we do. You know, he does like tutorials and unboxing and stuff like that. And this one video is the only offense. But it seems like he might have to pay a bunch.
Yeah. Since 2017. Oh, and he can't do any kind of content like that ever again. It doesn't actually pirate any information. The technicality there, though, is that because it featured channel logos and things, that's not okay. And technically, that's true under copyright law. You're not supposed to be able to.
The first appeal struck that down.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it said it was Brazil doesn't have a concept of fair use exactly, but yeah.
So if you're Brazilian, be careful what you put on YouTube.
I think Brazilians probably have worse problems right now.
Not that guy. He was doing great.
I think they're number 3 in the world. Number 3 or 4 for cases.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wonder what would explain that. I
You
guess
know, large
density,
population.
right?
Yeah.
Like they have those, what's the name of those?
Rio de Janeiro?
No, there's like there's a word for those, like, it's not even a city. It's just like a little cluster of homes stacked on top of each other, stacked like up and up. The chat.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the word.
The chat will tell us in like 10 minutes because we've got so many people watching that it's running about a minute behind.
All right. They'll tell us. There's a word for it, but I don't know it. I know it, but it's rattling around in there and I can't find it yet.
Shanty?
No, it's a Portuguese word, I think.
Oh.
Wait, is it Brazil?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brazil's Portuguese.
North Korea. You wonder what's going on in North Korea. It's dark. We did have that horrible story about them shooting some of the virus victims.
I'm sure everything's going great in North Korea.
How else are they being affected? Well, they might have a need for more money all of a sudden. That's it. Thanks, chat. Call him out. Who did it?
First one to say it was I can't say online because he has a horribly offensive username. Thanks, YouTube.
Oh no! That is terrible.
Oh.
I also scrolled up and I was like, it can't be that bad. It was that bad.
It was that bad.
It was that bad.
Anyway, North Korea. Yeah, they're busy.
U.S. government exposes new North Korean malware and phishing attacks. And, in the past, the North Korean malware, I feel like the press has made a bigger deal out of it than it really is. But there's 3 pieces of malware here, and it's serious business.
Let's see.
Copperhedge, Tainted Scribe, and Pebble Dash. They're all really around remote control, remote commanded control, and data exfiltration.
All these exploits, they always sound like magical spells from a really crappy D&D campaign.
Copper edge for 3 damage. Roll a saving throw.
Now here's let's try and come to a consensus. Now the chat will disagree with me, but it's GIF. GIF is GIF. I don't agree with it. I know it's phonetically it's unpleasant. I don't like it. I also hate it, and sometimes I don't do this. Like it's supposed to be Ubuntu, right?
Yeah.
I'll never say it, which is hypocritical because I do say GIF, and I say that because the man who invented it says that it's GIF.
We were calling it GIF before the World Wide Web because GIFs existed on BBSs.
I always said GIF.
Well,
yeah, I mean, obviously.
I'm just wrong.
Shameful. But if you invent something based on that and you said it wrong and you name your thing Giphy, I guess we got to call that Giphy, right? By the same token. And now it's just super confusing.
Scoop. Facebook to buy Giphy for $400 million.
Oh, you're going against it, huh?
Yeah.
We'll get on that in a jiffy. Facebook. So this is, it's memes, basically. Facebook is buying memes. You might be thinking, why on earth is Facebook buying an image hosting site? Well, it turns out that when you embed these images, they embed a little bit of JavaScript. They have a huge amount of data on users and websites that embed this and tracking across all those properties. So in addition to just being, meme hosting, like Facebook, they're all about data collection. So Facebook's going to have access to a huge amount of data and like the social connections and how memes spread on the internet, and they're surely not going to be able to weaponize that. Monetize that.
Also, Instagram getting crushed by the hot new kid in town, TikTok. So you want to try to do what TikTok is doing, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that's what they're going to do. They're going to incorporate Giphy or Giphy. I didn't even realize. Maybe it is Giphy because in a Giphy.
Like Giphy.
Yeah.
You think that's it?
Yeah.
Totally went over my head. Of course, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about Giphy or Jiffy or whatever.
Again, marching into our cyberpunk dystopian future one day at a time.
I am positive the chat can have a very controlled, sane discussion about this and not break down into any kind of argument. Confident about them. We're in the social media section, by the way. The transition occurred. You might not have noticed
like 3
it.
stories ago, yeah.
It's like flying over the international date line, but it happened. And another story about Facebook. Now, we have talked a lot about the people who have to watch the lizards be murdered and the rapes and the suicides and all just the horribleness and how bad that job is. So that amount of human suffering, what is it worth? Like for you to, aside from your paycheck, should you be paid damages on top of that? And if so, what is that number? Well, it's been determined what that number is.
Facebook will pay $52 million in settlement with moderators who develop PTSD on the job. If you're a Facebook content moderator, you're getting a minimum of an extra $1,000. If you're real messed up, you might be getting millions.
I feel like they should just do like some sort of healthcare that allows them to see a therapist, like a therapist on site.
Well, that money is supposed to go toward that, but they don't require it. If you wanted to buy a Steam VR instead, that's acceptable. But they're like, you really should go to a therapist. Now, if you've already gone to a therapist and you can show them that you clinically have PTSD, I don't know, how do you do that? I guess that's a thing.
I'm assuming
hopefully your therapist would have given you the diagnosis by now.
You get like another $2,000 if you can if you can stack your PTSD with a depression. You can get up to 6. Max is out at 6.
But in theory, like if you need, especially if you want to keep the job, if it pays well or something, but like,
no, I think
wouldn't you need constant therapy? So like, shouldn't they just pay for your therapy?
I think some of these people left. I mean, we covered the story where the guy was so messed up that he just...
It counts for anybody who's ever done this job.
Yeah.
So current or previous employees can apply for this.
Yeah. And I think... didn't one of the original class action people, the guy from the story 3 or 4 months ago, he got something special out of the settlement, but we don't know what the details of that are because he was suicidal.
Might get you an extra $1,000. And Facebook Now that was kind of a settlement. So, they're getting hit with a lot of lawsuits. And more terrifyingly, they kind of see what's happening to Google. You got to think that all the tech companies are looking at this antitrust and they're like, oh, that could happen to us one day because we're all huge and super powerful. So Zuckerberg has decided to try and form a gang to go against the government. And I don't know how that'll work out for him.
Facebook is quietly helping to set up a new pro-tech advocacy group to battle Washington. So basically, Facebook has noticed that a lot of people in Washington grew up in a time when computers were the size of football stadiums. And maybe they're not really connected to what's happening in reality, or, there's just some unsolvable problems. But also, they just don't want to solve some of the other problems or be responsible for solving those problems because those are expensive problems to solve. So Facebook is going to help try to educate these lawmakers on what the heck's going on.
This just sounds like a lobbying group.
Yeah, it is.
Don't break us up, please, because we want to continue making money.
And probably
that's what this is.
Probably something that he eventually wants to become a political action committee for when he gets back to chasing the presidency after the whole privacy thing blows over a little bit. So
privacy's overrated.
Clearly, he realizes he's not a popular man, and his way of defeating that is apparently, start this group. So we've seen a lot of propaganda out of the Facebook, I'm sure, pretty soon. Tell it stuff like, hey, robots aren't bad. They're helpful, especially androids.
He goes to shake your hand and he's just crushing it because, he doesn't have that module installed to recognize pressure.
And on Facebook, much like all of the other social media platforms, you can't say certain words, like certain usernames that people use on the platform. But it quickly becomes obvious what words you can't use. And because the whole concept of a bad word means the same as another word already, you can just continue substituting, which is what people who want to control speech don't seem to realize.
Don't we have... Oh, yeah. Facebook violence curbs thwarted by groups using code words. So, Facebook is blocking keywords, or blocking words, I guess. People notice that, and then they start using other words. Isn't this the story that we covered about China? It's like WeChat is blocking things, and then so you start talking about other things that sound similar.
It's another story.
They're blocking the word Civil War.
We haven't done
that. Yeah.
So, the word here, the meaning of the word, first of all, we'll give you the meaning. And you can think about, what word would I use in this? The meaning is basically uprising, or revolution, or overthrowing the government, or something like that. So what word would you use? We'll wait 5 seconds. Boogaloo. Boogaloo is the word.
Electric boogaloo.
That means to rise up against the government. And they have groups like Waiting for the Boogaloo or something like that. And then when the pandemic stuff started happening, some people were like, wait a minute, is Trump calling for a boogaloo? And Facebook desperately tries to combat this, but they just keep switching to new words, which is how slang works.
Yeah.
Which is why you can't ever stop it.
Yeah. Just ask China. You have to send people to, people in leather outfits to other people's houses to tell them not to do that.
Well, I guess I should take that back. You can kind of stop it, but it means murdering people and having a constant, Gestapo constantly monitoring the entire country's, all of their messaging.
We know who you are. Stop doing that.
So it might not be worth it. The big reopening is happening around the world, or around the country. At least here in
the U.S.
And I think ours is scheduled for Wednesday, right?
Yes.
So that'd be interesting. We have the mask order now, and it's on all the windows everywhere I've gone, but not a lot of masks.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe like 60% at this point.
It's the 40% of people are inconsiderate. I would believe that.
You're gonna get some responses. The anti-mask crowd. The
anti-mask crowd is the same as the anti-pants crowd.
I think part of it is just these are people who follow orders because they're afraid, not because they like other people or care about, have any sort of empathy. And when they get one that they're allowed to break and nobody will call them on it, they do that as sort of a catharsis. I think that's a lot of the turn signal people too. Like, I ain't going to do that. Screw you. You ain't going to make me. You know, when it comes to other rules where somebody will make them, they won't break those, but they'll break the little ones that they can. Anyway, that has nothing to do with this story. This story is about some companies who, despite the reopening, are saying, you know what, it's working the way it is. We're just not going to bother.
Twitter will allow employees to work at home forever. So Twitter was looking around, and they're like, you know what? Most of our employees are very productive. So you know what? You guys just keep on working from home. They mentioned specifically that some of the IT people are not going to be able to do that because, you know, they have to physically work on computers or physically work on servers or whatever. But by and large, a lot of people are actually working responsibly from home. It's not been the productivity apocalypse that some people predicted.
The worker said, you know what? Yeah. At first it was weird, but now we kind of like it. So, sounds good. That's it's an interesting thing. Like, I think maybe eventually we would hit this no matter what, but this just sped it along. You know,
it did, yeah.
Just forced us into this new world.
I'm also delighted by, like, you know, I know some people that are like, well, it's just more efficient if we just work together, if it's work remote, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, oh, yeah, it turns out it's fine.
But one thing about this, it's going to make it a lot crazier when the EMP hits.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I went down that rabbit hole the other day, and I was like, you know, I don't have enough mental space left for this part of Apocalypse Bingo.
Oh, the EMP
So I'm going to come back to this some other time.
You know, when you hear about stuff like that, you kind of, in your mind, or at least I do, it's like, okay, what steps would I take?
There's almost nothing.
Yeah, the EMP, it's just like, well, you're kind of screwed.
I'm gonna need a backup of Wikipedia on some like some of those survival manuals, and then that's probably
you'd have to print it.
No, you could still. If an EMP would be fine. If
you have
if
to have
off.
your stuff in a Faraday cage, though, right? Like,
but you're gonna have to power it.
Yeah, solar panels or whatever. That would survive an EMP.
Assuming you can find any.
Yeah, exactly. And finally, actually, this is the story we were just talking about. When it comes to other countries, China being the other country, censoring everything and having that power. But the thing about China is it's not just their own power. It's the pressure they can exert on the companies.
Yes.
And one company in particular who should be near and dear to all of our hearts right now, especially that one guy with a really offensive username. Really, really bowing
Shout out
down.
to you, awful person with a terrible name.
They are doing exactly what the CCP tells them.
YouTube automatically deletes Chinese epithet. Is that how you say that?
Epithet? I think
Epithet.
so, yeah.
Communist bandit. So this is a Taiwan thing. This is the Taiwan news. And so this is kind of surprising, really. I mean, YouTube getting involved in the whole China-Taiwan thing, and it's like you can't comment that on a video. It just disappears. So one of the news channel used their news channel YouTube video, which is like, you know, legit, and they just left those comments because it's like, I'm a legit person on YouTube. This is not just going to be, you know, deleted as if it was a bot. And holy crap, those comments were deleted.
Now, some of you might be popping that into the chat and be like, hey, it works here. But it's not the English version. It's the characters.
Yeah.
So the combination of this character and this character, this character will be denied. I don't know if that's everywhere or just China and Taiwan.
Yeah.
Someone type it in the chat right now.
There goes our monetization. Thank God Super Chat is on, and there's 1 million people that have given us a bunch of money. Thank you. Is that the end of this episode?
That is the end of the episode.
Well, that's a great lead in for me to thank everybody that gave us some money. So Piracy, the artificer, says, no, not my Pornhub history, in reference to the FBI getting that. Nori SS says, now this is my kind of Sunday service. This is for some extra taking care with my DP switch. Okay, sounds good. Vic Viper says, Ryan is a man of the people. Seriously, thank you all for keeping us sane and informed during the darkest timeline. Unpopular Trip says, simpin' for Ryan 2020. Low fall, I think
that's one of my favorite new words.
Simpin'?
Simp.
Yeah.
I've only noticed that in like 2020. Was that a thing before?
I don't think so. I've seen it a lot, like on Twitter or on Overwatch. I'll see people comment that.
Lowfall says, hi from Sweden. Hopefully I got your last name right. I watch your videos, but I don't like merch, but here's a little donation. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
You.
Paco says, keep being awesome. Jean-Marc Legister says, thanks for moving the cursor, because it was on Krista and it was not good.
I moved her down to the bottom.
Artist says, boom, because I use ad block. Bo Loop says it's pronounced GIF, and it was just capital GIF, and so I don't know if he was saying GIF or GIF. I don't know. Daniel Kim is the current record holder. He says, heart you, Krista. He gave us $50, just the one guy.
Wow.
Oh, Krista, blow him a kiss.
No. We'll give him a thumbs up, but...
Darjan says, finally got you live. Hope you all are doing well. Thank you all. So we're just going to wait here for a little bit while Ryan prepares the next infusion of stories.
That is saying simp is old. So, like, apparently we're old, because that's apparently old.
Yeah, it's new to me, but it seems like it's blown up. Because I see it everywhere now.
Is simp something that Shaft might have said?
My understanding, let's clarify. My understanding is simp is like one of these people who sends money to people online thinking that they have a personal relationship when they don't.
Yeah,
especially
like
for the thoughts, right?
A whale for a thought, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The other thing that's like old slang or not really slang, I guess just a movement that I still like to do every now and then, I like to dab. And I think that's like very 2018, and it's cringy because I'm almost 30, and it's like, that's no.
Well, wasn't dab one of the first Fortnite dance things? Or does that predate that?
I think it might predate that.
Well, chat is having a good time. We got 2 more episodes to get through, chat. So at least another hour, probably like an hour and a half.
Usually we go till about 4:30 or 5, but we got a late start today, so it might go a little later.
No, we don't need
It's Eastern time.
We spent 30 minutes playing the SpaceX simulator.
I thought that was going to be a story about it. I didn't realize it was linked directly to it. And then I docked it. Did you dock it?
No,
I
failed.
It took forever. The sort might be a little weird. Because I usually take a long time to do this.
Yeah, it's fine.
I posted the Forbidden Mandarin into Super Chat. It would not accept it.
Adam Breesbaugh says, I posted the Forbidden Mandarin into a Super Chat, and it would not accept it. Thanks for doing what you do. Wow. Thanks. That's amazing. That's
it does not actually work. You cannot do that.
It's global. It's platform wide. And he gave us $5 to tell us that. That's incredible.
You think they seized that $5?
Recycled says, woo, live engagement. Thanks, Recycled. Yeah, that's incredible because we don't, there's nothing that should not be prohibited on our stream because reasons.
When is Ryan going to get an OnlyFans?
Uh-oh.
So I've only recently learned what that is as well. Do you know that the presenters, creators on that have gone up 40% since the lockdown?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I can see that. That's... I went down a rabbit hole of history for the Hoovervilles and the Depression era and stuff, and it's they all kind of gloss over that sort of thing.
Well, that happened in Venezuela. I remember reading stories about that where she was like, yeah, I'm an MD, but I have to hook on the weekends because
yeah. We're in such a horrible time now.
I have to eat. I'm not proud of it.
Nick Bender says, here, money to keep the circus going. All right, we ready to get started?
No.
Thanks, Nick.
No, he hasn't sent me the one tab yet.
Oh, Nick said that, not you. Okay, I got you.
Oh. Carol, no, we don't usually do the news live. This is something we might try out maybe once a month just to see how it goes. We've done a few live broadcasts before.
You think this is worth keeping? Because this is the same old robot.
Yeah, I think we should mention that just because it's oh yeah, Jeff Bezos is adopting that immediately.
Okay, let's end on the dog story. Everybody likes a good animal story. Oh, you know what? I forgot, Krista. I forgot to put Fiona in here. Remind me in Nonsense Day.
Oh, that's such a good story. Hit me with that one tab.
Hang on. I got to sort the big Tesla block. Okay, so
Oh, there's so many.
first up, Trump, and then that one. And then that one.
Do it every week. I mean, then you guys would have to listen to us do the sorting every week, which would probably be not particularly entertaining.
Andre Williams gave us $5 and says, "What do you think about Epic Games saying how fast the PS5 SSD when Intel is stuck on PCI 3.0? They need some PCIe 4.0 love law." Hey, if that console has an SSD that is faster than 4 gigabytes per second, I will be shocked. And that's what it would need for PCI Express 4.0 to matter.
The hardware in that thing does seem impressive, but if you think back to all the other console launches, it never really lives up to the hype. So
Yeah.
you gotta.
Well, the original Xbox was a Pentium 3 733, which was actually a pretty decent machine for the time. And so you could buy the console, and the console was like $200 less than you could buy an equivalent Pentium 3 733 machine.
for like a year, but it also overheated like crazy.
Yeah,
So, or not the original. You're talking about the original Xbox.
yeah.
I'm thinking of the 360.
All those have red ringed by now.
All
I
right.
wish there was an easy way to paste the one tab into the chat. Oh well.
Eh.
I could save it to that file.
It's fine.
So, we will begin with the odyssey of Elon Musk over the past week. Now let's think
It's more
back.
of a ballad, really.
Let's think back. It's an epic. Let's think back to the previous week when he melted down on Twitter, celebrated his new child, and began to threaten the government if they weren't going to let him reopen. And he said, "You must allow me to reopen." And the government said, "You're not special." So that's what we'll pick up.
Well, which government? Because it was the state government was
Everybody.
like,
It's the Alameda County
Yeah.
is the particular ones that he has singled out. So we'll pick up there as they are, they're in this standoff. Who's going to win? And we have a new person enter the arena.
Trump wants California to let the automaker Tesla reopen their assembly plant. This is after Trump got in Musk got in a Twitter rant with the Alameda County people because he was saying, "Look, we're ready to reopen. We've done everything. We need to reopen." And Alameda was like, "You're not essential, bro. You don't need to do that."
And I think that they had also said, like, if you just wait another week so we can check your safety precautions, that's fine. But you need to wait another week.
They were scheduled 1 week later. I guess that would be Monday
Yeah, the 18th.
from now. It's weird doing the news and not having to try to think like, what date is this going to air?
What day is it? Yeah.
Oh, no, it's real time. So I think Monday they were scheduled to open. But Musk being Musk, that wasn't good enough for him. Because he's special and he operates by his own rules.
Elon Musk restarts the Tesla factory in defiance of county orders. Literally, and it's not full capacity. It's what, like 30%?
33 is what you're supposed to get on the first day back.
And so he said, "Hey, if anybody's going to come arrest me, or if anybody's going to come arrest anybody for coming to work, arrest me, and we'll put this, we'll put this to bed. We'll put an end to it."
How hilarious is that he thinks that's how things work? Like, listen, just arrest me. You can tell the cops who to arrest. Just arrest me.
Well, that would be the fair thing to do. I mean, I'm sure those workers weren't clamoring to come back. Maybe some of them were. So he reopened, and nobody did anything about it. They kind of backed down, and they gave him what he wanted. But then CNN, probably fishing for a story, probably called like 1 million Tesla workers until they found this one who looks like a bit of a problem in the first place to find somebody who disagreed with the whole thing.
Tesla factory worker. Elon Musk does not have workers' best interests at heart. And she goes on to talk about stuff happening. Next week, we're going to have a story about how she was fired.
Yeah. But she was one of the 33%. She did go back because she was like, well, got to eat.
I need money to survive.
So the last threat in this saga was Musk saying, "I'm tired of being pushed around by these bureaucrats. We're leaving California. The headquarters is going somewhere else, and I'm done with it." And supposedly in response to that, they kind of backed down. But then we go back to the story we did in the government section where they took away SpaceX money. So quite the soap opera. And finally, the announcement was made that the Empire struck back, and then Musk fired this torpedo down the exhaust tube.
Tesla's next factory is going to be in Austin, Texas, and it's going to happen quickly. Although, it's funny, doesn't this article say that they reached out directly to Tesla, and Tesla spokespeople said they're still considering Tulsa, Oklahoma, but then later some other stuff was like, yeah, the people inside Tesla have been tasked with getting this ready in Austin.
I know a lot of people in Texas were reaching out to him on Twitter and stuff and being like, yeah, Texas is more in line with your attitudes. We don't care about this kind of thing.
You think his girlfriend and kid are going to want to move out to Texas?
You know what? He might be able to support 2 homes.
Maybe.
Fly between them.
And 5 other kids that he's had.
He's having to sell all of his worldly possessions to open this factory, Ryan. What are you talking about?
Now, this is not as big as some of the other factories, but this is where they're going to make the truck.
And the Y, the Model Y.
That's kind of impractical for people who actually need to haul things, but yes. Great. Continue to make the truck.
You think the Texans will embrace the truck?
No.
My favorite thing about the Cybertruck is going to be that, you know, any standard issue 4-wheeler will not fit in the back, but the Tesla Cyber 4-wheeler totally fits perfectly.
Just like Apple.
It's just like 2 inches too narrow, and it's like, Musk, why did you do this?
You think the 4-wheeler companies will make their new models fit?
Yeah, probably.
No. Really? You think so? For one car?
Probably.
That's in a niche market for people who can only afford a certain price?
Do you think there's a lot what's the Venn diagram like of 4-wheeler enthusiasts and Tesla truck owners?
They're just 2 circles.
Maybe.
There's very little overlap there.
Do you think if you're out in the woods and regular ATV people encounter Tesla ATV people, will there be some friction?
I think that if Tesla SUV owner or like and they encounter a hunting party, the hunting party is just going to shoot them and bury them in the woods.
We can only hope. So that is the saga of Tesla going back to work. Now, some other companies are not so lucky because even if things do open back up, having a business that's based on a little tiny cramped container packed with virus is not going to be good. It's going to be a problem. Now, they did I put the story in there about the masks? I did. It's in the AI section.
Yeah.
Uber is trying to make some changes, but let's be honest.
No.
Who's gonna take an Uber in this day and age? So they have to get creative, and they have to try to focus on what's working.
Uber Technologies makes a takeover approach to Grubhub. So Uber, you know, there's Uber drivers aren't hauling people around. Maybe they can pivot and have their drivers haul around food. Well, Grubhub is doing not terrible in the current situation that we're in. Uber Eats was just kind of starting to get off the ground. Maybe a Grubhub takeover is in order. Although I suspect that Grubhub could be the one to buy Uber.
Well, Uber's got the money, though, right?
Uber has money, but Grubhub has a functional company. What a weird world we live in.
We'll see how that goes. If you're Grubhub, though, does the reopening now is probably the highest point at which you can sell, don't you think?
Yeah.
If we reopen.
Yeah.
Now, if we second wave, that's the gamble.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be one giant wave.
You think?
There's not even any chance
Well,
for
this
it
one's
to get a
kind of
second one.
cresting. Aren't we? A lot of different places are having like less than 100 cases right now, or 100 deaths, or something like that.
We're a little over 200 a day where we are.
Yeah, but a lot of places are dropping below 100.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Kentucky's. I mean, I think we flattened the curve, but it's also been with like extreme social distancing, and it's like what happens as soon as we reopen.
It's with about 40% of the population doing extreme social distancing.
I go to Kroger and I don't see any of that. I see the same old stuff. Also, the Chinese place is back open. I finally got Chinese food, and it's 2 meals because they give you so much. The first meal, I was like, oh my god, this is everything I've ever wanted. And the second meal was like, meh. I wasn't really missing anything here. But they hilariously have you remember when this first started in China, where they would have like a deli or a bodega or something, and they would have saran wrap or plastic wrap over the whole. They've got that going on.
They saw that and were like, oh, we have to have that.
They got like one little slot where you give them your credit card, but then they hand you the bag. It's like, Not sure how effective this is, but it looks funny. Meanwhile, some companies actually have a pretty good track record when it comes to how many cases they have. I mean, considering how many people work for this company and how many have died, this is a pretty amazing ratio. But a lot of people are complaining and saying, they're not actually telling us how many people have died. We find out all this stuff secondhand, and then we force them with the question. They're like, yeah, they died. So what's the real number?
A seventh Amazon employee dies of the thing as the company refuses to say how many are sick. And, 7 people die. I mean, that's bad. 0 people would be nice. But is it 7 out of 1,000? 10,000?
Or is it how many more have maybe passed and we don't know what they passed of?
This image is fantastic.
Because it's just, oh, yeah.
It looks like pollen, but it's not.
So, yeah, Amazon is kind of tight-lipped. You got to wonder, that number comes out someday, though, eventually, right? It has to. And that could be terrible for them. But if you're an Amazon worker, you can also, I don't know if he's in the chat, but that person, the person that died was in Indianapolis, and in an alternate timeline, that would have been Nubbin. No question about it.
I had that same thought. I was like, I wonder if Nubbin knew that person.
For sure it would have been him.
So I didn't see Nubbin in the thing on Friday. Was he there? Hopefully he's okay.
The Twitch stream? Yeah, he gave out some subs. He was there.
Okay, that's good.
But if you're one of those Amazon workers, a little bit of good news, although it comes with a bit of a hook in it. You get to keep your raise, but not for long.
Amazon extends bonus pay to frontline workers, but says it ends in June. Guys, June's right around the corner. June's not that far away.
2 weeks away. So, that, I think we can safely say that won't be the end of the pandemic situation in the country.
No.
So.
This should just be called hazard pay. But I imagine that probably comes with a lot of legal stuff that comes with it. And they're like, well, if we just call it bonus pay, hero pay, we can get rid of it whenever we want.
The quarantine is nothing if not melancholy.
Plus, we found out that they're not giving a lot of those extras to the actual warehouse workers. It's only the white-collar workers that are getting the other things.
And it's like most of them probably can work from home, and it's like, is that really necessary? And
secretly, secretly Bezos is probably thinking that, how can we keep this thing going so that small businesses are shut down, but the behemoth that is Amazon continues to operate? I need all other businesses to remain closed, but Amazon, the essential behemoth that it is, must remain open. This is the best thing for Bezos.
It seems like if that was the case, then giving those $2 wouldn't be that big a deal.
Yeah.
Maybe a little short-sighted. But when it comes to playing the long game, we really can't judge the man because, Jesus, back when Amazon was a bookstore and everyone was like, they don't make money, forget it, that's ridiculous. And meanwhile, he's now, the Lord of the earth with all of his wealth and money. And once again, a brilliant tactical move if they go through with this one. Because think about this, all right? None of us go to the movie theaters very often. I almost never go. I mean, it's been years.
I don't remember the last time I went and saw a movie.
But what if a couple of times a month, as part of your Prime membership, you got to see a free movie? You going to pass that up?
Probably, because I don't like most of the stuff that's out.
I might actually go.
AMC's not doing so well because of the thing. Their stock is surging, though, at the mere thought of Amazon buying them. AMC is a huge chain of movie theaters, the largest one, in fact, and there's a rumor floating around that Amazon might buy them.
And I gotta think they roll it into the Prime package, make it a part of that, and you're gonna go in and sit down, and it's gonna be a quote unquote free movie, but there's gonna be so much targeted advertising.
It's like the free subs on Twitch.
So what's gonna happen is in real time, you're gonna scan your Prime membership to get in, and then that information in real time is gonna go to the Amazon servers, and it's like, okay, the people that are watching this movie, let's figure out a product that they all have in common and advertise that.
It's just like the Twitch subs. It's like, this person is simping for this. Let's send them these kinds of products.
Usually it's just like whenever I see an ad on Twitch, it's like other games. is what's on there.
Do you think simp is a demonetization word?
Probably.
We'll know at the end of this week.
No.
Huawei. So the Huawei saga we kind of followed in the government section. They are being shut completely down. Not only is the ban extended, but now they're saying if you are a U.S. chip company, do not sell Huawei chips. And this is probably the reason why. Because when it came to like no new products get to use Android, or you got to go for the ban, Huawei had a very interesting way of working around that.
Huawei's Google app loophole just keep re-releasing old devices. Now we should clarify that immediately when the Huawei ban was announced, Google apps immediately stopped working. Google said, we're not going to send any security updates to current Huawei device owners. And the White House kind of opened up a little bit. They said, well, it's not really fair that we're going to punish people that already bought Huawei devices from getting security updates. That's going to put them in a worse position with these devices. We'll allow Google to publish security updates for these devices that people already have. And so what Huawei is doing is continuing to produce the old devices, one, but two, they've upgraded the old devices. They've added more RAM and more clock speed and different versions of the old devices. They're like, it's the same old model, but you can still buy it and it's better, and it's not really exactly the same model. And technically the White House allowed that.
And they have a release date for this phone that was already released years ago. It's in June. So they're essentially selling you a new kind of phone, calling it
Brilliant.
the same thing. Don't think it'll work with the new lockdown, but they'll get away with it for this one, I guess, because it's already been created. So brilliant move. Uber is not the only company that is looking to acquire while everybody is suffering, although the stock market actually kind of rebounded. I mean, I don't know if they're getting this for a huge discount, but it does show maybe where Apple is looking to extend their reach.
Apple buys a virtual reality company, Next VR. It's about a $100 million deal, although that's not been made public. That's just conjecture, what they sort of expect in the article here. It's augmented reality, but also virtual reality. So this has fueled a lot of speculation that Apple is working on some kind of VR glasses or an augmented reality headset. Google Glass, but Apple edition? Will Apple succeed where Google failed?
I think so, because the design team will make it more attractive than Google Glass. And it'll be like that AirPod thing. So a couple of football players will wear them, and it'll become more of a status symbol than a nerd symbol.
It's we can have the same reaction to that we currently have when you go into the meeting and then somebody whips out the pink MacBook Pro with the Grindr sticker on it. It's like, oh.
Honestly, when I see AirPods, I kind of have the same feelings about the pink MacBook. But I could totally see, it's like get Dr. Dre involved, make it cool. Yeah, it could definitely work. The video card, everybody wants to tell you when they got the new hottest video card. They'll post a review on Steam and be like, this runs great for me, but I've got a 2080. Yeah. And a lot of people thinking about the 3080, what's that going to be, getting excited. But the real king of video cards is not concerned with your stupid little gaming. No, it's all about AI, and it is an absolute monster of a whale.
NVIDIA's 7nm Ampere A100 Beast Machine Learning GPU has been launched with GGX A100 AI supercomputer. The video for this from NVIDIA, if you get a chance to watch it, is pretty cool. Jensen, CEO of NVIDIA, presented this from his kitchen, basically. It was like 8 of these on one carrier. It was just completely nuts. They've added a lot of stuff here, but the really interesting thing is the lack of an interposer. Like if you look really closely at the chip and the HBM stacks, it looks like they've got a similar carrier to what AMD is doing, which is like just silicon on an organic substrate as opposed to silicon on an interposer. But yeah, TF32, it's a little different because they're doing the math a little differently. So like the number of teraflops that you have here is a little different than you had and when you're talking about teraflops in the prior generation, because they have like TensorFlow 32, which is as accurate as the 16-bit thing, but it's actually a 32-bit space, but to try to get things to go faster. So it's had a lot of optimization specifically for the AI workloads in silicon. So That box right there, $200,000.
Oh, the Chinese Communist Party is going to love those. God, so useful for tracking citizens and erasing their history. It's amazing. Speaking of Apple and the style brand that they bring, the AirPods are not the only douchey thing that you can wear in Publix. Now, you can get the full over-the-ear experience and still look like an asshole.
9to5 Mac reports that exclusive AirPods Studio to feature head and neck detection, custom equalizer settings, and more. So do you think if it detects that you're deaf in one frequency range, it'll just shift all the sounds to another frequency range?
You know what the crazy thing that it has is, like you don't have to figure out left and right. Somehow it detects your ears. How much battery does that cost? That's ridiculous.
Apple knows its customer.
They're saying this is going to cost $350.
Which
That's a steal.
If they're really good headphones, that's probably not a stretch. But if they're anything like the Beats, they're probably going to be garbage headphones.
Yeah.
The neck detection is because it's got the automatic shut off. But if it's on your neck, because you're just wearing them on your neck, so they can go up at any time, it doesn't shut them off. Another stupid feature. I bet there's no buttons.
It doesn't need buttons. It knows what you want before you even know yourself.
Ah, tragic. But that's the thing. You can get that with your AR glasses. When Donald Trump became president, he guaranteed us that we were bringing all the manufacturing back to the U.S. And a lot of people were like, basic economics disagrees with you there, Mr. Trump. But he got, what's the one in Wisconsin?
Foxconn.
Foxconn, yeah. It's not doing anything. I think it's building masks or something right now. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not really creating a product.
No.
And so maybe as he is in perhaps his final year, although, again, he's going up against a deranged man with dementia. So it seems like a foregone conclusion. And maybe part of his celebratory inauguration speech will include this accomplishment.
TSMC plans a $12 billion U.S. chip plant and a victory for Trump. 5-nanometer production is going to go online in 2022. According to this is a huge, huge win for American manufacturing. TSMC right now does have one of the world's leading, microchip production capabilities. But like the Foxconn thing really didn't materialize in any meaningful way yet. I have my doubts about this.
Well, they asked them, and they're like, we've crunched the numbers, and there is no way you can make any kind of profit with American workers in this situation. And they were just like, we're still thinking about it. So
that's a heavy subsidy.
This might be a $12 billion, make them feel good before the election type of thing. We are changing the way we live, obviously, stuck at home. And, various businesses are killing it because of that. And it's no surprise that gaming has just gone through the roof.
Video games set a record for quarterly sales. So, yeah, people are stuck at home, got a lot of time on your hands. People are buying games. I mean, the Nintendo Switch alone is just, they can't make it fast enough.
Well, that's the thing. Because, the PS4 and the Xbox are at their end of life. So you'd expect the sales to trickle down. So console sales were down overall, except no, they were up overall because the Switch just drug the entire, business up. It's like they're just selling them as fast as they can make them. For games, I think it was like 9% year over year. Yeah, 9% more games this year.
7% of that 9% was Animal Crossing.
That was the number one.
Yeah, the stock market.
And it's not just video games that are killing it. And this is another kind of a no-brainer. That's no surprise. I was shopping on Tuesday, and I noticed that there were people just constantly in my way, and they were everywhere. And I was like, oh, what is this? And they had these blue, monolithic things that they were driving around. I realized it was people picking orders for the online. That's way worse than the old people now, because they're doing 5 at a time. So when they get in front of the Doritos, they have to pick 7 different bags of Doritos. It's like, this is actually worse.
U.S. e-commerce sales jumped 49% in April, led by online grocery shopping. Can't go into the store, can't have crowds. What better solution than to buy groceries online? I've really Mom bought some stuff online before. but now she has no choice. She's like had to learn how to use the app, and let me tell you, it is excruciating.
Why?
Because it's like she doesn't want to use the thing, and then when they substitute an item, she loses her mind.
Oh.
And then she like doesn't want to pay attention to the details like size, so she'll get like the 48 count of one thing and then like the 2 count of the other thing, and it's just it's a challenge.
Well, you would think. Oh, I guess some of that stuff is perishable. Yeah, I see how that'd be a problem. But yeah, is it improving? Is it like on a?
It is improving.
So eventually, by the end of the pandemic, she'll be adept at online shopping.
For the next apocalypse event for June, she'll probably get it.
In some cases, things that people now have more time to spend on because of the pandemic is actually things that have already gone away. And this was apparently a lot of kids grew up with this.
Yeah.
I don't know. This completely passed me by, obviously. But Disney just recently got rid of one of their more popular online destinations. But the source code was leaked, which led some people to run some pirate versions of it. And it seems maybe on purpose, they made it with a little less Disney magic.
Disney forces explicit Club Penguin clones. Yes, there was more than one clone offline. This story is amazing and delightful. I feel like the person who explained us about the Brazilian bodegas would probably be right at home in this environment. Yeah, so there was a lot of explicit chatting, a lot of things that children do not need to see.
Maybe some grooming.
Because there was no moderators or anything else going on with this. So Disney sent the lawyergrams, and they're like, look, just shut down, and that'll be the end of it. But if you don't shut down, we're coming with the full force of the horsemen of the apocalypse of Disney.
14-year-old Caden was shocked by what he saw on Club Penguin Online.
Who wants to send me nudes?
That should be the thumbnail.
That's a real caption on this article.
So yeah,
oh, sorry. Continue.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
The original Club Penguin, I remember when it launched, like they had a ton of like filtering options, so like you would get banned for even like little things. It's hilarious that someone has done a clone that removed.
Yeah, well, they point out here that they actually went to the trouble of taking down. So you got swear words, homophobic slurs, anti-Semitism, and racist messages. They actually went to the trouble of disabling all of those filters. Now, the BBC found...
Players
the
are
pixelation
invited to
really
take
makes
part in
that.
penguin sex.
So the BBC apparently found this kid, and the quotes from this kid seem absolutely unbelievable. I think the BBC reporter just wrote some, and they're like, "Kid, just say that you said this." All right, yeah. So because the kid was like, "I wanted to go and have a wholesome time, but I was all these people, and I was afraid."
14-year-old Caden.
The caricatures make it.
Wait, there's 5 characters there.
Yeah.
What is the word? Maybe it was an exclamation point. These are so good. So rest in peace, Club Penguin. This was Club Penguin Online, which is different than Club Penguin.
Yeah.
But it was stolen
But I
code.
can see why a normal child would not recognize that difference.
Yeah, clearly.
That's amazing.
This was a sorting mistake. I've missed one.
Oh.
Back to Amazon. Mr. Bezos, what was it? 23 billion?
Yeah, just
billion?
in the last couple of months, his wealth has increased 23 billion because Amazon is running at basically max capacity. Like all of their extra capacity is gone, and so that's profit.
How much do you think he'll make taking back those $2 raises? 7 or 8 million, just like that day.
Yeah, probably not even.
So, no question that he is just raking in the money. And when we say 24 billion, we're not talking about Amazon. We're talking about him, Bezos himself. That is what he has made, or what they estimate he has made in the wake of all of this stuff. So, if we continue on this path, and I think this estimate even averages it, right?
Yeah, it was like the last 6 years.
It's not like it's got to continue along the pandemic, although that probably has drugged the average up just a little bit. But if just things keep going well for Amazon, he's going to hit a new number that is just astonishing.
Jeff Bezos could become the world's first trillionaire, and many people are not happy about it. Gee, I wonder why.
We've never had a trillionaire.
You know, he's so successful. He did all this himself. He deserves it. Wait a minute.
You know what's really crazy is he just split his number with a divorce.
Yeah, and it just didn't even faze him.
And it's like, boom, I'll make that back this year. And he was right. So
he's going to have to work a little harder. He was only working 3 hours a day before the divorce. Since the divorce, he's been working, 9.
He's been making 4 extra phone calls a day. If you're him, do you get the trillion number just to go down in history, even though it might be infamy? Or do you start shedding money when you start to approach that just to keep the plebs calm?
Well, if he follows the Lex Luthor character arc, he is literally going to say that this is validation, that he needs to remake the world in his image.
So yeah, if this was Musk has already reached the point of I think the plebs are mad, so I'm just going to shed all my wealth so people don't get mad at me.
I don't know if he's talking about selling his house and stuff, though. I think he was very leveraged.
Yeah.
His mortgage payment was some crazy amount, like $100,000.
Why even have a mortgage if you're that rich?
Because you can make more from investing that amount of money than you pay on the interest. It's actually a very smart move.
Yeah. It's like, if your interest rate is 1% and inflation is 2%, you should just leverage yourself until your debt's coming out of your eyeballs.
But if he sells all those properties, I don't think he's giving the money away, right? Yeah. I think he's just using it for something else. So maybe this is funding the super weapon, right? That he's building in those tunnels.
The super-duper rocket.
And then once the Starship gets powerful enough engines, he puts it into orbit. And that's when he takes over. I think that's probably what's going to happen there. The mental breakdown is just a cover for liquidating all his assets. That's the storyline I'm going to go with. Another bad sort. Gosh, it's like I almost gave up when I got to these last 5 or 6 stories. But back to Uber. So are you going to get in an Uber? I think most people say no, and you can tell that the developers are sitting around. It's like, well, what can we do about it? They got maybe some decent ideas, but it wouldn't be enough for me.
Uber will require all drivers and riders to wear masks starting Monday. That's tomorrow.
So it's kind of like the store mask policy, because at least here in Kentucky,
it's required.
Is it an enforceable law?
No,
it's not enforceable, but it is I can't remember what the exact wording was, but it's like,
you're breaking the social
we won't put you in jail for this, but you need to do it.
Now, a lot of people are spreading this idea that masks are now bad for you. But
like pants are bad for you.
The Asian culture has been wearing masks when they're sick
out for COVID
for decades. How about the hardline female Muslims? They never go anywhere without a mask. I don't know that they're hotbeds of disease, are they? I think they're doing okay. I mean, they might not leave the house a lot, but neither are we. So the mask thing, a lot of people, I think, are just, it's like, that doesn't affect me because I ain't sick. But you don't know if you're sick. That's the thing. It's just a courtesy. Sure, I don't think it's going to protect me. I think that little virus is going to get right in there. No problem. But it keeps my expulsions at a minimum. That's the thing. You're keeping your own filth to yourself. Underwear operate under the same principle. Anyway,
the thing with this, did we already read the headline at this point? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to follow up. The thing about the Uber is the driver has to take a selfie, and they have AI that detects the mask, so you cannot drive. It's kind of like the DUI blow in the thing. It's like you can't start the car without.
But here's the thing that's weird to think about as a passenger. It's starting to get warm, right? People are wearing shorts. They get in the back of the car, and their booty sweat's getting all over the back seat. And then you get in that car, and you get their booty sweat on your booty. No, but there's no mask for that.
Yeah, it's a placebo, I think, at best. Which is probably true of the masks overall, except for the preventing your filth of getting out. Again,
it works in Asia.
But in Asia, they wear it when they're sick.
Well, they know
that's the part that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's not a big and it's not bad for you. Masks are not bad for you. I mean, I wouldn't wear them around the clock, But how long are you going to be in the Kroger? If you're shopping for more than 3 hours at Kroger right now, you're the problem. Now, I expected this to be a story. Turned out it was a direct link, and
It's an experience.
I did it. It took longer than it should have.
I didn't have the patience to do it.
My Surface almost melted with the video card trying to keep up with it. But if you are so inclined, you can go through the simulation and dock with the space station.
SpaceX ISS docking simulator. Yeah, so check out the link for this. It's in the URL bar. You're going to have to just scrape it out of the video. Sorry. But the URL is easy, iss-sim.spacex.com. You're going to try to dock with the space station. You can't collide with the space station. You've got to fire your thrusters, and you're not moving fast enough. You got to, like... Yeah. Oh, you're getting farther away. Are you getting farther away? Yeah, it's negative.
No, it works that way. We're closing.
All I'm thinking is like, some engineers spent a lot of time making. I don't know what technologies this use. Maybe it's like WebGL or something. Someone spent a lot of time making this, and now SpaceX is not getting those sweet California subsidies. And this was this was a budget-intensive project.
The developer was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get a big bonus this year," and Alameda was like, "Nope." Sorry, buddy.
Oh,
I think this is. We've already won tab, so I'm going to close that out. I think it might be hurting OBS's performance.
Just a little.
Oh no! I've clicked.
We could have posted that in the chat, so they could have looked at it, I guess.
Oh yeah, the Kickstarter thing.
Kickstarter is another one of those companies. Surprisingly enough, now that we're in this time of, everybody's broke and nobody's sure of the future, people aren't quite as excited to spend money on vaporware and phones that are never going to come out.
Still waiting on my Model F keyboard.
I forgot about the keyboard. Right. You did finally get the phone.
Yeah.
You did get the phone.
Have you gotten any update on the keyboard?
Yeah, they're working on die-subbing the keys. I said they could mail it without the keys. No reply yet.
Because it doesn't exist.
It does exist. People started getting them.
So a lot of people don't have the extra money, not really going to do that. And on top of all that, the workforce just unionized. And when a workforce unionizes, it usually goes one of two ways. Either the company is super successful and they're like, oh gosh, we have to deal with this. Or they're not quite as successful and they're like, okay, you've decided for us.
Kickstarter loses nearly 40% of its workforce after layoffs and buyouts. So yeah, Kickstarter as a platform is also suffering the way that some of the things that are being kickstarted also are suffering. Can't say I'm surprised.
Now this is an interesting gamble, right? So it's, I think, 4 months of salary, destroy the non-compete, you go back into the job market. Or keep dealing with like the coronavirus layoff system.
Oh no, you said it.
Oh, you said the word.
Well, it's live. So how do you play that?
Probably the non-compete thing. Like just tear it up.
Yeah. But you're going into a rough job market.
Yeah.
But you have 4 months.
Yeah.
So you also get to keep your health insurance for some amount of time. And
that's what most people are worried about. It's like most people wouldn't mind changing jobs or doing this, that, or the other as long as they know that if something happens, the hospital's not going to just kick them out.
Wasn't it? I saw a story that was like coronavirus treatment in the U.S. is like $35,000.
Second time. Yeah, the testing in the early days was like $12,000 just for the test, right?
Yeah.
Although it's got to be cheaper now because
it's free.
The drive-through testing, yeah. But the treatment, I think, like if you get it and they have to hospitalize you, it's like
a lot.
Yeah, a lot of money.
If I get it, I'm just rolling at home until I feel like it's like, okay, I'm drowning in my lungs. Call somebody. But then you got to pay that ambulance trip because you can't get somebody to come and get you because then you're just infecting them.
Yeah.
Maybe me and the cats will just die together.
You climb in the back of the truck. I'll drive you in the truck.
Well, the new console generation is coming out, and to go along with that, Epic has unleashed Unreal 5. Of course, PC gamers will get this too, but the console is what the hype is about. And they've shown us a demo running on the PS5. That's pretty impressive.
The Unreal Engine 5 demo shows the stunning future of video game graphics. I think everybody has probably already seen this by now. It's like the girl with the glowy orb thing jumps off the cliff and is flying. It looks like an incredible technology demo if it is as rendered in real time as they say, just with the lighting effects and everything else.
But go back and look at the PS4
Yeah.
demo. We never reached that level of graphical fidelity in a real game.
Yeah.
So, still, it's a step up. Can't argue with that. I'm sure we'll get some delightful games.
It does look amazing. I want to see the programmer toolkit that gives me access to these tools, and then I'll reserve judgment until I'm actually able to play with that.
Well, can you not get it yet?
No PS5.
No, but the Unreal, you can get the Unreal PC.
Yeah, but I don't think it does that yet.
Oh.
That stuff.
What, isn't it just NVIDIA?
No, it's AMD. That was all AMD stuff. AMD effects and extensions.
Oh, right, because they were copying the ray tracing.
Yeah, or they're doing it a different way somehow.
So I'm sure they'll come out with it pretty soon. Also, in the Sony world of interesting new things, and also we've crossed over into the robot section. One of the things about cameras is that sometimes you want a camera to have privacy, but in order for a camera to do AI stuff, like if you want to do facial recognition, for example, you have to pull the image off the camera and process it. So you've made a copy of the image. It exists somewhere. Someone could grab that. What's the solution? Well, Sony thinks they've found it.
Sony releases faster camera sensors with integrated AI. So you can do the processing literally on the image sensor for whatever it is that you're looking for and not have that metadata that could potentially be abused. Which seems to me like 6 one way and half a dozen the other.
It is kind of a weird thought experiment, right? Like
Yeah.
It's Schrodinger's image. But one of the things they point out is if you're going to do like facial recognition in a very sensitive place, you could do it without ever storing an image. You could just have metadata coming back from facial recognition. So I don't think anybody would do that. Who in power, who has a camera with facial recognition, isn't going to keep a record?
Literally nobody. As we've seen with the contact tracing app, all the governments are like, but you have a device that has location and Bluetooth beacons, give us both. And it's like, no, that could be abuse for privacy. We don't need the location to do the contact tracing. And then the government's like, but you have the location. You should give us the location. It's like, but you don't need that to do that. But you have it. You should give it to us. It's like,
We need to keep track on the Boogaloo.
That's true.
We need their locations.
You always have to worry about the book. I'm sure the Boogaloo is at the forefront of the minds of many of the people in power right now.
YouTube is going to black hole this video so hard because the chat is still trying those Chinese characters and it doesn't work at all. So there's an alarm bell going off on someone's console somewhere.
There's a counter.
Yeah.
When it gets to 100, it's just going to delete the channel. Now, this robot is not really exciting because we've seen several iterations of it before, but this one has, I guess we could say, he's finally found a job. But not really, actually. It's not in use. However, they have tested it in some of the Amazon locations.
Amazon built a roving robot covered in UV light bulbs that could kill the thing in warehouses and Whole Foods. Short version, Jeff Bezos watches this program, saw us talking about the other UV robots, and he's like, my guy Carl in the warehouse could build one of those. And he literally did.
My guy Carl. He doesn't know their names.
You can see the idea here is that it's going to blast these door handles, which seems like a really good idea.
I don't know why supermarkets don't already have this. Can you imagine Walmart, like when everybody is closed, they just deploy a fleet of these and it just goes through and just zaps everything? That would be incredible.
Or you could just mount it like at an angle on the top of the coolers. And just have it run back and forth.
It's like, stand back, everybody.
And it could, you know how they have the detector of when the lights kick on in the freezers? So it could detect. It's like, oh, there's nobody in this aisle. And there's nobody within 20 feet of this aisle. Quickly, zap.
That would be creepy if like you're in the next aisle over and there's that like flash of death from the next aisle because no one was in there. And it's like,
the smell of ozone.
What was that?
And you're like, oh, I should go over there and get those handles while they're fresh.
Before they're dirty again.
They're so powerful that there's like that lingering sort of bug zapper smell in the aisle after the fact.
France, as we have seen, is really stepping up their game when it comes to attacking the big tech companies and taking their pound of flesh. And they've just unabashedly said, hey, economic times are tough. We're taking our money. We want it. Give us our money.
We talked about that in the government section.
Well, they also seem to have the same cavalier attitude about invading their citizens' privacy and just being like, yep, we're doing it. What you going to do about it?
France is using AI to check whether people are wearing masks on public transport. The Verge reached out for comment on this, and it was scary how focused the French people that they contacted about this. They were fixated on saying, we just want to gather stats and like remind people they should be wearing a mask. We're not going to cite people or use this for face recognition. They said that we're not going to use this for face recognition so many times that I think they're probably going to use it for face recognition.
Yeah. They claim that there will be no capture whatsoever of the video.
So they're definitely recording it.
But again, if they have the capability, even with the Sony chips, I think they're going to keep it.
Do you remember here when they said, you know, if you choose not to wear a seatbelt, we're not going to fine you or cite you for that. You just should be wearing a seatbelt. And then they will pull you over for not wearing a seatbelt now.
Oh, you just gave the Team No Mask a whole magazine of ammunition.
Good job, Wendell. We're going to be demonetized for spreading bad information.
Krista, does Rue take commands? Well, first of all, does she take commands at all? I know you can make her like lay down and stuff, right?
Yeah, she does like sit, lay down, off, like to get off the couch or get off when she wants to jump in your lap. She knows the word food. She knows to go outside, go downstairs.
Is that?
So she knows quite a few commands actually.
Now, is that exclusive to you, or will she take those commands from anybody?
She'll take commands from me and my husband. I don't know how well she does with other people. She will sit if there's food involved. She will do anything that you ask if there's food involved.
Really? What about war crimes?
She would totally do it. Totally do it. She will. One of the other things we've taught her to do is the command leave it. So you can put a treat on the ground in front of her and tell her to leave it, and she'll just sit there and stare at it and then stare at you until you tell her she can go get it. Because she knows she can't have it.
Rue, turn the gas on, and then you can have the treat.
I've kind of got that. Jesus. The Zyklon. I've kind of got that going on with Toast, where he gets to finish Crouton's food that he doesn't finish, because Crouton never finishes his food. But I make him wait till Crouton has made it all the way to the water fountain, so that we can be sure he doesn't want any more of it. He's about 50% on that. Sometimes I'll tell him no, and he just sort of like, army crawls over to it. Like he won't stand up. But. So the question is, would she do it for just anybody? And the more important question is, would she do it for a robot?
Dogs obey commands given by social robots. This experiment was fascinating because they tried different kinds of robots. And it turns out the robots that were most effective were, anthropomorphic robots with arms.
That makes
And this
sense
is
to
not
me.
super great as far as anthropomorphic. I mean, it looks kind of like a person, but even a dog's got to be like, what's going on with that person?
So
I feel like Rue would not like this robot.
they tried just having the owner give commands through a loudspeaker, and the dogs would do that sometimes, but not really very often.
And they also tried to use the Spot robot that actually looks like a dog, and apparently the dogs had no interest in Spot at all. They didn't care if Spot was giving commands or whatever. But if it looked like a human, kind of, and it gave them a command, 60% followed the commands. I think the speaker was like 20%.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
Interesting.
I don't know. I don't think Rue would do it.
So that whole thing with, how that they were able to catch the Terminators by letting the dogs smell them, that was nonsense. The dogs will go on Team Robot. They don't care. They have no loyalty to humanity.
It's like with
Whoever
Rue.
has
It's
the
like, do you
beef or
have food?
Yeah.
And the robots will make the best dog treats.
Yeah.
All right, that's the end of episode 2.
All right. Time for the super chats. Tiki says, call me Tiki, but thanks for what you do. Just built my 3900X with a Radeon 5700 XT and 128 gigs of RAM running Manjaro.
Well, if his name was Tiki, what else were we going to call him?
No, it was
Yeah.
Tikristi. It's the same guy from before that I was like, I'm not sure how to pronounce this. And he just said, call me Tiki.
Oh, okay.
So it's fine. And yeah, more level. It's running Manjaro. Cool. All right, sounds good. Max Ashton says, thanks for the excellent news and awesome articles. I stood up Ubiquity and I love it. So awesome.
I'm reading The Stand, and that's a great lockdown book. If you're going to read a lockdown book, The Stand is fantastic for that. So that's our book recommendation. My book recommendation for your Ubiquity server this week is The Stand. It's a little long.
Well, you'll be able to use those bookmark features where...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely going to be able to use the tracking.
Mac says, make Tesla move to Texas. Tobin Fox Jeff 888 says, much love from the UK. Here's a tenner to get yourselves a bite to eat or drink. Well, thank you. Nemo? What?
We didn't do security, right?
No.
Yeah, security and...
We didn't do security.
Nico Nemo says, wow, you guys talk slow after catching up to the live point at 2.0 speed. Gene Mark Legister says, since you're reading these, can you split up your weekly news on Floatplane as well? I don't think anybody's asked for that. I'll have to look into that. Maybe. Ryan Cooper says, laughing... Oh, he posted a GIF. It was a laughing fox furry GIF. Thank you. Aaron Demand says,
wait,
PS...
Does laughing fox furry mean a fursuit?
It was just a furry laughing fox. It might have been a furry.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. But
was it
an
emoji? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, Aaron Demand says PS5 SSD is fast. It's a 4.0 SSD with a special controller and a software stack. That's new and unique. Yeah, I know they said with compression it could do like 5 or 6 gigabytes per second, up to like 9 gigabytes per second. But the jury's still out on that. Ian Washish says, Patreon since a million years now. Well, thank you. And thanks for the content. Next gen, I'll have some compression coprocessor, 9 gigs for PS5 and 5 to 6 gigs for Xbox One X. NVIDIA Tensor Comp 2, and then it sort of trailed off, but awesome. Thank you. And Handquake says, nothing to see here. Will Warwick gave us $2 with no comment. Thank you. So how's the chat doing? We got one more episode to get through. Don't go anywhere. I need to get some coffee, but yeah, it's probably fine.
You don't get your break.
Yeah, there's no break.
Yeah, the emoji that I thought was a dab, I think is actually an elbow cough. But I'm gonna say it's a dab.
That's nice. Well, you can kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that'd be a good way to get kids to elbow cough.
The chat has an excellent point. We missed an opportunity for a joke, which was the Bezos UV robots are all 5G for the remote control.
So they can like give us diseases while they cure some diseases.
Let the boiler snake out. It's hot today. The boiler snake's gone for the season.
Yeah, it is. It's unpleasant. I mean, it's only 80 degrees, but I don't know. I seem like the heat this summer or the spring is affecting me more. I think it's because we had so much cold weather.
I had I'd taken out one of the radiators to do maintenance on it. Like I'd unhooked the radiator because it needed a new valve. And then we got that little cold spell, and somebody turned the radiator on during the cold spell, and so one of the rooms just had dumped a ton of steam into it, and it was like, oh, whoops.
Who has access to that?
It's just in the basement, so
that seems like a decision that shouldn't be made by one person.
Like just arbitrarily, like, I'm going to turn this on, and it'll be fine. LaSalle Rhymes III says, hello from the Ohio Valley.
Why don't electric cars have solar panels? Because you have to store all that power in a battery, and you probably would need a bunch to make it really go.
Cameron Neop says the lighting equals my mood. Yeah, I tried to go for the vaporwave look,
moody, dark.
But I don't know.
I've got bedside table lamp and window light. I thought it felt good today. I went and sat on the patio for breakfast. Ryan is glowing. He's expecting.
Nam Yun gave us $5.
I don't know what story to... I'm not even going to sort very much, honestly.
I don't know what to think about the YouTube censorship thing either. With a bunch of people were trying it, and I didn't see it go through at all.
That's not surprising, because how many people are posting Chinese characters in other language?
Yeah.
So...
Shout out to Ireland.
Philip Brandon says, I have a mask tan line.
It's a good look.
Remember when the nurses and doctors were posting where they had
they had the bruises
like
and
actually
stuff.
had like cuts and scrapes and stuff where they wore them all day long.
Yeah.
It is miserable to wear a mask.
Yeah.
I imagine that
Yeah.
sucks. Although drowning in your own lungs, also uncomfortable. So I'm told.
Joel McKinney says, I make all my decisions live and with only one mind participating. I know you from Twitch.
Well, someone posted some Chinese characters in the chat, but I don't know if it's the ones that were banned.
That doesn't look the same visually.
You really memorized those already? We're doing a no sort. No sort
Wow.
Friday, except it's not Friday, it's Sunday.
Hit me with the one tab link when you're ready.
You're so needy.
I need them so I can follow along.
Andrew Cruz says, hello from my no DRM John Deere using all my 4G. That sounds like a video opportunity for Level 1. What's the chance of you making or modding a microphone boom that tracks and adjusts position to be in the ideal range of the speaker? That's a good idea.
Yeah, but the motor would have to be really quiet.
Yeah, that's hard to do with stepper motors. They sound like robots.
It always makes me laugh when you see like a drone shot and they don't have music over it, and then you actually hear the drone in it, and it's like the whole time.
Yeah.
All right, I'm good.
Oh, we got some Chinese characters for Boogaloo. That's nice. So that works.
Oh,
For now. You know what, guys? We're training the AI here. You realize?
we probably
Working
are. Yeah.
against them. Pro-democracy does not post Chinese characters in random chats.
All right, what is this on with the something and nonsense?
This is security. We had a lot of security stories this week. A lot of actually pretty interesting security stories. Now, the first one, is it a security story? I would say that it is. I would say anytime you have something operating at the kernel level of your computer
Yeah.
that you don't necessarily know about, that's a security event. I would flag that. But this company says, nah, it's fine. Don't worry your pretty little head about this.
Denuvo says its new kernel-level anti-cheat driver is minimally invasive. Oh, man, this is going into Doom Eternal for anti-cheat because they're trying to enable multiplayer. But this broke my heart because I had a ton of fun playing Doom Eternal, and this is garbage. This is not acceptable.
What's even worse is that you bought the game and this was not part of it.
Yeah.
So now it's like after the fact, have this really invasive thing that, that's may have performance issues, maybe not, who knows. Now that when I ask about all this, they're like, don't worry. It only runs while the game is running, so you don't have to worry. And sure, we could spy on everything you do, but we won't.
Our bosses will, but we won't.
They also made a big deal about saying that this was safer because they could do certificate revocation or something like that.
If it got compromised.
If it got compromised. But no, I mean, this is not...
But what's the lead time from them finding out about it? From somebody exploiting it, them finding out about it, and dealing with certificates?
Yeah, I mean, this just... also, this worked on Linux. I mean, they didn't officially make this game for Linux, but the Windows emulation layer for Linux that Valve's been working on was so good that before the Denuvo, this game was actually playable on Linux, and now it's not. Because the kernel stuff's never come to Linux.
As designed. So, yeah, just be warned. If you've already bought it, you can't opt out of this. Sorry. If you prevent it from updating, you could still play the single player, but you'll never play the multiplayer without the latest patch. The Steam reviews, not good all of a sudden. It went from overwhelmingly positive to mixed.
Oops.
In Arkansas, I just watched that movie named Arkansas. That's a pretty good movie. I recommend it. But the reality in Arkansas isn't quite as exciting as that movie. They have a problem with their unemployment app that some programmer probably going to be fired over because it wasn't a hack. It was, there was a hack He was doing the job. That's what happened here.
Social security numbers, banking information, etc., left unprotected on the Arkansas's unemployment PUA. I forgot what that stands for. The PUA website. So
It also stands for pickup artist, which was maybe a mistake to abbreviate.
It's, unemployment assistance. Something unemployment assistance. Pandemic unemployment assistance.
So he figured out that if he just did a little bit of basic URL manipulation, it would show him a lot of other people's stuff. And then he noticed that there was some JavaScript on the page that was calling an API to display his stuff, and that he could just not specify anything, and it would load everything for everybody.
And the something like /admin was part of the URL. So if you just clipped what was after /admin, you got a no login admin control panel.
Nice. Yeah.
So
we're available for consulting.
He immediately, he knew what was, he knew, like, he's read the horror stories and he's like, I ain't getting sued. So he just noped right out of it. And he started calling everybody, like newspapers, Arkansas people, whatever. But he said, I could have totally written a script that would have cleaned everything out of this in maybe an hour. And I could have dumped that data. So.
That's bad.
Bad news.
Side note, Arkansas Times, how come, like, the top headlines here, there's a section for rock candy, eat Arkansas, cannabis. But there's also a dining section. So what's the difference between eat Arkansas and dining?
No, you're literally just eating dirt. Like you're just digging up the sod. Let's look at cannabis real quick.
Pot and the pandemic in Arkansas.
So it's legal there, I guess, right?
An Arkansas weed scholar.
Oh yeah,
lab
dispensaries. Yeah. Wow, you learn something new every day. Arkansas is ahead of Kentucky on something.
That seems like a really red state to go legal weed.
That's that's curious.
I mean, it's gonna be worldwide, right? I mean, or countrywide eventually. They're fighting a losing game. It'll never happen here till Mitch McConnell's dead. But how much longer can he hang on? I mean, if thoughts and prayers work, he should be dead in a couple of weeks. He's got a lot of enemies.
Is he one of the ones not wearing a mask? Because maybe he'll,
I don't know. I haven't been. You know what? I haven't been following Mitch McConnell news.
Yeah, same.
I gotta get something to drink.
I try to forget that he's not there.
You could take an interlude. There's from the line down are the people that have given us money.
It's time for filler. All right.
Oh no.
That's the one about the John Deere. We've already read that one.
Do you want a water?
No, I'm good. Pecos ST, is that street or saint? Any plans for Level 1 text dissection of the Pinebook Pro? I don't know that we have one. Maybe if they send us one. Nico Inimo. Are drunk news on schedule or random? When's the next one? I believe the only time we will ever commit to doing one is at the end of the year.
Yeah, we always do one for Christmas usually.
Now, anytime that both Wendell and Krista are gone, I will resort to that. That's kind of like, a coping mechanism. Wendell, assuming that China doesn't invade Taiwan, I think Wendell's going there in September?
Assuming Computex is still on at that point, yeah.
If you go camping during that time, maybe I'll go crazy.
They're opening parks and stuff back up, I think, at the beginning of June, but I don't know if I'd trust going to one right now because they reopened the Smokies, like Smokies National Park last week, and it was swamped with people from all over the country.
I kind of feel that way about the retail stores, right? Because they're going to open on Wednesday, and it's going to be a madhouse. Who's going to go? Oh, a lot of people are going to go. And it's going to be all team no mask.
Ugh.
So you want to stay away from that.
It's like, I got to go look at, this spring's fashions, even though I can't go anywhere.
Joel McKinney says, yes, I'm a real human, which is exactly what a robot would say. Come on. We're not stupid. Will Wawick says, please do a more detailed Synology backup for Biz. Helian Overlord says, this is Dragorin from Twitch. Hello. I don't believe it. I don't think that's Dragorin at all.
He's been kidnapped.
Oh gosh, this text document is not. Philip Branham says, Do you have a PCI pass-through and ZFS tutorial? There's a ZFS about the storage server. And he did some PCI stuff, like he did like the GTA one, but that was a long time ago.
All the big players have said no to Computex. Yeah, I don't think that will actually happen this year. I mean, they rescheduled it, but I don't think that it's going to happen.
Which one tech would change humanity the most? Oh no, the scroll.
You lost it.
Holodeck, replicator, warp drive, or transporter? Honestly, well, obviously warp drive we could relocate. That would be big. But I think the holodeck would be pretty crazy. I think that space communism that is Star Trek doesn't explore how the holodeck, some people would never leave it. Like that would be the worst drug ever, don't you think?
Wait, what is it?
The holodeck? Krista,
be
are you
that
going to
one?
sit here and tell me you don't know what the holodeck is?
It may be. Yeah.
Chat.
I'm sitting here reading the
Oh.
comments, and I'm thinking they were like, "Oh, show us the cats," but you don't have the cats with you.
Peiko
And I was
Saint.
like, I could go get Rue.
Peiko Saint gave us £2 and says Peiko is fine. No, you are Peiko Saint from now on.
Taco.
So
Big bets on what Wendell's beverage will be. It's gonna be water.
it's going to be
It's gonna
Just-
make a coffee.
tea, I guess. Probably shouldn't be touching this cup.
Mm.
The holodeck, Krista, I can't believe you don't know this. So the holodeck uses like light, I guess, and maybe gravity manipulation. Somebody's going to correct me on that.
Yeah. Actually,
And it creates a hologram, yet you can touch it and it has like, texture and heat. And so it's just, you can recreate reality to your desires and have any simulation that you want on the Enterprise.
I don't remember that at all. Though I've seen the concept enough in other sci-fi shows that I assume Star Trek was the first, which wouldn't surprise me at all.
Every third episode was something going wrong in the holodeck and the hologram like escaping. There was all of the Data Sherlock Holmes episodes were based on that. When they were really just ridiculous. Cameron No Yep gave us $2 and says ham radio yeet.
Holodeck. The holler deck.
Hylian Overlord says, I'm fine, I swear. Was that the hidden robot? No, that's Joel McKinney.
I was thinking about going and get Rue.
Now, the
Oh.
replicators, let's get some root time.
Let me go. I have to go all the way downstairs to get her, but I can go get her.
Wow, jeez.
Oh,
Poor you.
nightmare.
Nekoi Nemo would prefer kitties, but Rue will do too, please. Kitties are at home. That's 40 rubles. I don't know how much that is, but it seems impressive. Alex Schubert says Voyager best Star Trek. Toast has had a bit of a backslide. He has opened cabinets. He's destroyed the water fountain this week. He's unplugged it. I don't know. He was having such a good run. He went through almost the entire pandemic and hadn't bothered the water bowl, and then all of a sudden made a huge mess with the water. I don't know what I'm going to do with him. He's a year and a half. He should be old enough now to be over that, but somehow he's not. If Troy's my therapist, I'm an addict to anything. Troy hit the wall. Did you see the Picard episode? Like her face features had like stretched out. It was like she was the Clayman from Batman. Look at that dog.
Good dog. What are you doing? Hi. Did you guys see her briefly?
I like how I imagine she's always like wants to be around, but when you want her on camera,
Yeah, she's like, no, I'm gonna go look in the other room. Come here. Ruby, come on. Come here.
hi
Come
from
here.
Barbados. Corvette update. Oh, chat. So I'm not a guy who like street races and stuff like that because the car the people who like are defined by their car, you didn't design it, you didn't build it, you paid for it. It's something you bought. You know, you shouldn't be proud of it. But there was this Supra yesterday. Oh, and it was one of those. Krista, do you know about the camber? Do you know what camber is?
No.
Camber is when you change the angle of the tires on your car. Oh, look at that's perfect.
She's so good. Look at this good dog. Oh, straight fired.
And she's done.
Swear.
She's had the spotlight.
I'm waiting for her to like pee on the bed or something terrible. She did that once when she was little.
Is Krista wearing boxers? She's definitely casual
I've got
today.
shorts on. It's hot today, chat.
What's she looking at?
Just staring at the door. I don't know. What's over there, Ruru? Is there a ghost? Ruru. Hi. She's like, don't talk to me, peasant.
So anyway, this this Supra with its the camber is where they rotate the tires and they angle them, like it's the DeLorean that could fly. When it starts to transform, its wheels roll up, except that they're like at 45 degrees. It's the stupidest thing in the universe. And they were, revving and shit. And I knew there was no fucking Supra that was gonna. So I didn't race them, but I was behind them. And when they would like take off, I would just stay right on them. That's like, no. And that was fun. I mean, I'm not proud of it, but I got a little bit of endorphins from it. Do you still think New York is dystopic? I think any place that doesn't respect the Second Amendment is dystopic. Oh, I did not gamble on water. I thought it was going to be tea.
Oh, no. Dude, would you like a water?
No, we were guessing what it was going to be.
Yeah, a bet in the chat.
I propose we pronounce Kansas the same way it's pronounced in Arkansas.
Kansas?
Kansas. Rue's made an appearance.
Yeah, she's hanging out. Such a good dog. What are you looking at, Ruby?
Does she not get to come in that room very much?
No, we usually hang out in the basement the most, so we're usually down there. And then we hang out on the patio and in the kitchen a lot, but she doesn't get to go in the bedrooms very much.
My cats, I accidentally left the basement door ajar a little bit. Like I didn't close it all the way. And they got down there one day, and now they are super interested in the basement.
They want to know.
Yeah. All right, back to it. Another data breach, and usually it's pretty obvious where data comes from when you have a data breach. But this one, bizarrely, no one knows.
Mystery data breach dubbed DB8151DD exposes the records of 22 million people. It's called that because most of the first records have that in their UUID at the beginning of the UUID. And so far, specialists haven't been able to figure out where this comes from.
It seems like it's an aggregation of stuff. Like no one company would probably have all this information. So someone was collating all this stuff.
It's probably an ad agency playing it fast and loose with their database. Haven't seen that before.
The online cheating, I don't play a lot of online games anymore. Of course, we got the Doom story. It's obviously pretty bad. Bad enough that they're willing to, because that de novo is expensive.
Brutal. Yeah.
And not just, in terms
computationally brutal.
Not just in terms of computation and public relations, but you have to pay for it. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it's not always super effective. But cheating is so bad, you have to do something. And back when we played PUBG, it was very disheartening when you'd play for 30 minutes and then, a bunch of Chinese characters, probably those Taiwan characters that are banned. You would sneak up on them, shoot them in the back, and they would just turn around and laugh at you and say China number
Well, they
one.
shoot you through a wall while you were in cover.
So I kind of get this, and this is an interesting solution, although it is going to leave some people out, you would think.
Yeah. Call of Duty Warzone cheaters are getting owned by two-factor. Activision is forcing Warzone gamers to use their cell phone number to log in and using it as a way to permaban cheaters. So if you cheat, you have a hard time creating a new account unless you get a new cell phone number.
What percentage of Warzone players are so hardcore addicted to cheating that they go out and get a new phone and a new plan.
Probably a bunch of people that are like famous streamers. They're like, I can get a $20 disposable
Yeah,
phone.
it's like a non-trivial thing. Though I do think this is kind of like, just from the integrity of the game standpoint, I do think that's a good move.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think it might be worth it to beat cheaters to leave some people out. If you have a gaming PC capable of running Call of Duty and you don't have a phone, that's got to be a small minority of people.
Yeah.
And it's only SMS. You don't have to have a smartphone. Although that can be. Okay, the next question is, how many people are doing the sim jacking just to get new Warzone accounts?
Oh, what a dark future.
Chrome has really started to step up their security and quality of life features. You got to give them credit for it, although they are still a step behind Firefox.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this latest one is nice, although I think it's a little too permissive. I think the rules are still allowing too much out of ads.
Chrome is going to start blocking resource-heavy ads in August. So Google has announced, hey, we're letting you know so that you get plenty of time to stop doing this, because after all, Google gets a ton of money from the ad industry. But they've noticed that people are noticing that, wow, these ads make things run like trash. Maybe they've been watching the Level1 news and they're like, you know what? When I open up all those one tabs with no form of ad blocker, it's really bad. The thresholds are 4 megs and 15 seconds.
Or 60 seconds of total CPU or 30 seconds of CPU in a certain amount of time. So it would have to be pretty egregious to do that for an ad. But you definitely don't want those ads, so...
Think about those ads that load and then it tries to profile your browser by checking every single plugin that you've got installed and...
Or mine some Monero.
Yeah, I mean...
Those would definitely do it. Another thing that the browser companies are dipping their toes into is DNS over HTTPS. And if you remember, the ISPs don't care for that because they like to look at what your DNS is doing, and they won't be able to if it's encrypted. And now, one of the biggest players is getting into that.
Windows 10 previews DNS over HTTPS. So this is on the insider ring of Windows?
Yeah, you have to do the experimental beta version to get this. But I'm sure it will eventually filter out to the rest of us. So that's a good thing. Can't be mad about that unless you're an ISP who's spying on its users.
Oh no, won't anybody think of them?
Do you recall last week when we talked about the Chrome extension that would fake out the Ohio unemployment form? And we talked about how that was an interesting idea, maybe a little bit illegal, but would it be effective? Could that generate enough to stop them? And we didn't have to wait long for the answer.
Ohio has actually stopped kicking workers off of unemployment after a hacker targeted its website. If you missed that story, what this is when employers summon workers back to work, the worker is no longer eligible for unemployment. And so employers are supposed to notify the Ohio unemployment office that people have been summoned back to work. They are not eligible for unemployment anymore. The problem is that a hacker was like, wait a minute, what about the workers that can't come back to work for extenuating reasons? Isn't that a little bit of a, you can't just, if the employer says you can return to work, you're not necessarily able to return to work because you might get sick or you have, the co-risk factors or something like that. And so that's why he created the extension, and it apparently was effective.
And they've paused, although they did fix their software, but someone else has taken over his extension and said, I'm going to improve it to beat the new CAPTCHA. So presumably they are going to bring it back, and at that time there might be another one waiting to attack it. So probably not the last we've heard of that. Interestingly enough, there was nothing in that story about them going after him legally or anything like that.
Yeah, no.
I guess the PR is already so bad.
Yeah.
There's probably a DA somewhere that's going to quietly pursue that and hope nobody notices.
Yeah. There's a new vulnerability on Windows, which is interesting. However, it's only usable if you already have a local account and you have to be physically present. So it's not that risky, but it's interesting.
Print Daemon vulnerability impacts all Windows versions. Print Daemon vulnerability impacts Windows versions as far back as 1996, but the patches are available. So it turns out if you print a document but don't actually want to send it to the printer, you want to send it to a file, there's a bunch of security checks that should take place that don't.
Sad. Who prints things anymore? Huawei, obviously in a bit of a storm when it comes to the international stage. They've been cut off from the chips now, as well as the Android software, and the ban is still on from the US. China's still in their corner, kind of, but you got to wonder how long that'll be before China's like, just let Huawei go. We don't need that problem. And this is not going to help their case, because doing something like this, you have to, of course, it's the old maliciousness versus incompetence. But when it's Huawei, you really got to think.
Huawei denies involvement in buggy Linux kernel patch proposal. So there was what Huawei has said is that there was a developer who was working on quote-unquote Huawei secure kernel extensions, which actually had a trivially exploitable remote root bug. It was so badly coded. And Huawei said, this guy works for us, but he was doing this on his spare time. We weren't paying him to do this. And he posted a thing on GitHub that was like, sorry, this is my bad. I'm not a very experienced coder. This is meant as a proof of concept, not as an actual patch for the Linux kernel, even though it was submitted as a patch to the Linux kernel.
And it had the word Huawei was in the patch name.
Yeah. The name of the thing that it was doing was for Huawei. So it was meant to go into Huawei's phones or help with something on Huawei's phones, but it would actually open up, all Linux kernel versions that use that vulnerability.
I have to revise that. We have to think about maliciousness, incompetence, and a CCP pistol being held to his head as he was coding it.
I was like, what was it? The coder that we always make fun of? Somebody he sings cousin is
he sings cousin's gone missing.
Yeah,
and he sing has been tasked. If he ever wants to see them again, he needs to patch the Linux kernel. Well, here's your weekly dystopia. This sounds like something out of a futuristic sci-fi movie, but no, it's right here and now.
Again, this week's theme is cyberpunk.
And I don't know if I would do this. This is really invasive. I understand it. I get why. But wow, it's asking for a lot. Although you could just give them fake information.
Washington restaurants will need to track diners' info as part of reopening requirements. That includes their phone number and email address. Wow. Okay.
So they're doing this here too. Now, I don't know about for restaurants, but like I wanted to go to one of my favorite places to hike this week, and they make you register a time slot ahead of time to make sure that you don't bring a bunch of people and then crowd all the trails. I also give them a fake address and a fake name.
Is there an end time or just a begin time?
No, begin and end time.
So what if you're slower than you thought and you're up there on the trail and it's your end time? Do they just come and shoot you?
They deploy the murder bots and they just they dump you in the Kentucky River and call it a day.
I figured that they would send one of those UV robots on the trail behind you, cleaning up after you.
Just like your back is burning and you're running. Please.
Go faster.
They don't have the battery technology. Usually, it's people who do things online. They get caught up in the breaches. You have to participate in a website in order to get your information out there. But sometimes it's people who, through no fault of their, I can't say through no fault of their own. Probably a lot of these people, absolutely by their own fault, are caught up in this, but they didn't ask to be put in this database.
The U.S. Marshal Service breach exposed personal data of 387,000 prisoners. A lot of these prisoners got this weird cryptic letter in the email that was like, data breach, credit monitoring, and identity theft stealing. So apparently these prisoners are at risk of having their identity stolen now because it was that complete of a breach. But the U.S. Marshal Service said, maybe if that actually happens to somebody, we might do a credit monitoring service for you or something. Maybe.
But what if you get that? Well, first of all, if you're still in prison, I guess you can get email in prison now, right? Can you freeze your credit from there?
It would be hard. It's freezing your credit by letter.
You got to.
Welcome to the 1800s.
You can pay $10 to make a phone call. It's disgusting.
Ain't nobody got that kind of money.
There's a little article in the sidebar here. It says Gen Z doesn't want to work for the government. Wonder why.
Yeah.
Neither do I. also a new bug in the hardware of some Intel stuff, and the bad news is it affects a lot of them. The worst news is it's not fixable. It's not patchable. It's just there forever. So if you've got it, you've got it forever.
There's a new Thunderbolt bug. Check if your computer is affected. These guys say that it is a bug in silicon, and that means that Intel is going to have to issue new silicon to fix this. Technically, Thunderbolt has several different modes of operation, including one where the device is not supposed to activate unless you explicitly approve it, but apparently they know the way around that.
What you do? Get your pack of chewing gum, chew some of it up, just smash it.
Just smash it in those Thunderbolt ports.
Right.
Never mind if that's also the charge port for your laptop.
You'll only be able to use it for another 4 hours, but it'll be totally secure. This, I know, actually got caught up in this. Now, I already had GTA, but I was like, I want my free copy. And I kept trying to go back to it, and the error message every time I would reload was in a different language. The Epic Store just got crushed because of their generosity.
The Epic Game Store is collapsing under the weight of free Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, you can get Grand Theft Auto 5 completely for free. No strings attached. Not really. But
you have to install the Epic Store.
Yeah, but a lot of people tried to do that. It is a 91 gigabyte download. Epic was not prepared for that in any way.
But you do have till, like, I think the 21st or something. So there's still plenty of time. Don't rush out right now and get it. And I just realized we're doing this live, so like.
Yeah, they can actually see it.
What do you think? I assume they pay these games. Do you think they pay these companies a per download, or do they pay them a lump sum? And if so, what was the number?
I would say that Rockstar probably gave them free or close to free, because as we've seen with GTA on Steam, Rockstar makes an insane amount of money on people buying like the in-game currency. It's like, oh, you can grind forever, or you can pay $5 and buy this super amazing like mansion villa.
Now this one, I believe, was one of the premium editions, so you get funny money with your free Epic one.
Yeah, I mean, but look how much money Rockstar's made, like hundreds of millions of dollars.
And I believe like all of the late game stuff that they've added over the lifetime, they've just made it more and more expensive. So you have to have tons of funny money to even get to the late game stuff. And you can buy like yachts and stuff now too. So that's going to be funny, because it's going to be like a window into hyperinflation.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden a bunch of rich people just showing up. Think prices will go up? I don't think it's built like that.
Probably not.
The stories like this point out the limits of free speech. And this is free speech. It's disgusting, but it is free speech. And I think the one counterweight we have to talk about here is that the people on this list are on social media putting their lives out there. I don't think anybody here has been like, they don't have like private investigators going after them. It's like people who put their lives out there. I don't think they have the money to do that, although maybe they do. I don't know. Anyway, it's disgusting.
White supremacists have built a website to dox interracial couples, and it's going to be hard to take down. So Vice has this kind of a longish story about somebody that started getting weird messages, and it turns out that they were added to this website for interracial couples, which is like super disturbing. Like, why would somebody put the time and effort and energy into doing this? Don't they have anything better to do? This is crazy.
Look at this blurry, sad girl.
Just put a picture up there that like looks like they're upset. Though to be fair, like, do you really want to have anything that's accurate for this story as the image?
Yeah, you don't want to put the actual people's pictures up there. Again, a lot of these people have social media accounts where they are advertising their multiracial relationship as like a beautiful thing, and these people are mostly just pulling from that.
Yeah, that was Instagram in the case of the one that.
Yeah, they
Vice
tagged
was
it like
about.
hashtag interracial couple.
I don't like. How does this affect me? Is the question that I'm forced to ask. Like, why would I spend my time going after these people? What's the damage?
Someone is wrong on the internet.
Do you think it's one of those situations where it's like the nice guy thing, where it's like, I could have that girl if not for...
Oh, those poor deluded souls.
Yeah, if she wasn't dating someone else, I could totally have her. She would totally be into me.
The chat is mostly talking about Rue.
Yeah, Rue just went out. My husband went to the door and like tapped on it, and Rue was very interested in that.
Rue's a great mascot for interracial because she's black and white
She is.
mixed together.
Well, she's going on the list.
She doesn't see color either because she loves everybody she's ever met.
I don't
Everyone is
think
her best friend.
I don't think she would mind. You can send her all the nasty messages you want. She doesn't care.
And Rue would just be like, do they offer treats though? Does Rue get treats?
Well, we've talked about games that are selling out during the pandemic, like Animal Crossing and Doom and stuff like that. Very popular, making a ton of money. But some games, which have been out for over a decade, actually 2 decades, are seeing a resurgence because people are bored.
Age of Empires 2 is quietly having an incredible year. It's 21 years old. It can have a beer. At least here in the US. That's incredible. It runs on anything. It'll run even on a potato.
But people are loving it. It's the number 2 real-time strategy game on Steam right now.
What's the number 1?
Oh no, it's number 1.
I was gonna say. It's weird they wouldn't mention the first.
So yeah.
Well, that's why we've
Fantastic.
got a live stream, obviously.
I think we've played that before.
Yeah, we have.
I think that's the first RTS where we figured out that Krista gets just crazy salty when you destroy her cities that she spent a long time making pretty.
Yeah, listen, I put a lot of money into the arts in my cities.
I think
Not so much of the defenses.
I think she rage quit that game. And we
I may
realized-
have.
Yeah. Isn't that the one where you can have the religious people and they make that stupid little note like "Woo," something like that?
Oh, no,
I thought
that's
that
Civ.
was Civ, yeah.
Is it?
I think so.
Because Civ's like, it's kind of difficult if you get like the Spaniards and then they bring their religion. It's like, oh no, because they just take over your country.
No, these don't work like that. It wasn't. They would convert units. So like you go out on the map and you use the religion, and then they would become your unit because they would turn them.
Yeah.
I think that's that game. I'm sure the chat will tell us.
I thought it was Civ, but maybe I'm wrong.
And we can have some F's in the chat for an internet legend. 2010, man.
Oh.
That's been 10 years.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. And in those 10 years, he apparently didn't treat himself very well because he's dead.
Double Rainbow Guy from 2010 viral video dies at 57, which is itself viral. Thanks, Time Magazine and other things. It was just some guy that was so moved by seeing a double rainbow.
Now, he claims he was not under the influence of any drugs at the time.
But if you watch the video,
It seems like drugs might have been involved. But it was funny because he had cried and laughed and had a really emotional reaction to the double rainbow. What does it mean? It means you're going to die in 10 years.
Though it says he was swabbed for the thing and was waiting a test result.
No, I don't think that's what killed him, was it?
They
I don't
didn't
know.
say. They
Oh.
haven't released the cause of death yet.
Would he be the most famous pandemic death if it killed him?
no. We've had a lot of like the country music singers, and there's a rock and roll star. We've had a lot of famous people die.
Really?
None of which you
I don't
can
remember
name?
None of
anyone's
which I
name.
can
right
name.
now.
They're all music. So I don't know
remember
music.
who those people. I thought
I'm sure chat will name.
there was a bunch of old people that died, but do we know that that's what killed them?
Some of them.
Well, the murder hornets are the latest meme. I got to admit, I got caught up in it. I love reading about the murder hornets. Yeah, and it's
They're
because
not here yet.
it's because their
but-
face is just so. I don't know. It's not quite.
Aggressive.
It's not. It's, you know what? You know what it makes me think about? Juggalos. When I look at the murder hornet face, I think about juggalos being able to fly and having
Family.
stingers, and it's terrifying.
Flying juggalos. Panicked over murder hornets. People are killing the native bees we desperately need. So people are going crazy killing bees and hornets. But we actually need bees and hornets. Bees pollinate just about everything. We need them. Why are people terrible? And also, the article says, you know, Asian cultures like Japan have been dealing with these forever.
And eating them.
So it's fine.
Now there was a story I saw about a guy. where was that? Maybe in South America somewhere. But one of them got him on the eyebrow, and it killed him.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're serious. Don't mess with them. But also, don't kill all the bees. Just
We need the
honestly,
bees.
honeybees don't really mess with you much.
You've got time to become a beekeeper.
Oh, you do, Ryan. Hashtag side hustle.
I saw your tweet about the bird, too, like the old bird.
Oh,
Bird.
yeah.
I was just like poking him, and he would just turn and open his mouth at me. Somebody posted he was really
He
young.
wanted you to feed.
Yeah, I think he was just really young. But I had to trim the hedge. Somebody on Twitter was like, why didn't you just leave him in the hedge? Because I was going to trim it. I would have, like, he almost got the trimmer before I spotted him. And I was like, dude, why are you not flying away? And then we had like a 5-minute standoff. I went back
Apparently,
and,
someone else on Twitter said it was a fledgling. So, like, its parents were probably nearby, but it can't fly quite yet.
yeah, they probably, because that was the last bush I got to. So they were probably long gone. I went back later to the plant. He was gone. So I don't know. Like, can they pick him up? He was big. But birds
He
are
may
mostly
fluff.
just fluff.
Yeah.
So. He flapped a little bit, but he never flew. So I don't know. I'm sure he made it, and a predator didn't immediately come by and snack on him. I'm going to go with that story.
Those YouTube videos where they're like, look, we're releasing the rabbit back into the wild. And the falcon just comes and it's like, oh, it's the cycle of nature.
Have you guys ever seen the bumper stickers that say, if you can read this, you're too close?
Yes.
Yes.
So how about a mask in that same vein, but much more hilarious?
Yes. Utah mother is selling social distancing penis face masks, and she has raised $56,000 for nonprofit so far. So there's little tiny cartoon penises.
You can just see the images don't, like, it only shows you the top of them, but you can just see, and also just a little bit of ejaculate there to really top it off. And there's some other shit, like that looks like a snowflake or maybe like a Star of David or something. I don't know what the connection is there.
See, if I saw someone in the store like this, I wouldn't even really, like, look at it. You would have to, like, really be looking.
Well, that's her point.
What's
So
that?
when someone comments on the penises, you know they're too close.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
She's also making a vagina version. And one other one, I can't remember what it was, but it was, equally unacceptable.
Maybe butts.
Maybe. The Team No Mask, I'm not with you. I'm sorry. I'm Team Mask. And I'm not down with your conspiracy theories, although I do agree that we are reaching a critical point of government overreach. And this might be
Might be the tipping point.
might be crossing that line.
New
Yeah.
York tourist arrested after posting Hawaii beach photos. So, a tourist from New York was arrested for allegedly violating Hawaii's traveler quarantine after he posted on Instagram photos of himself sunbathing and carrying a surfboard. So, he posted pictures on Instagram at like some park in New York one day, and then like the next day he was in Hawaii and like out on the beach. And you're not supposed to do that. But the article also mentioned that normally Hawaii sees 30,000 visitors a day. On the day that guy arrived, there were 250.
But I think maybe to take the other side of it, I think you do when you land in Hawaii, you agree. I don't know how legally binding it is to a 14-day stay, like you're just going to stay in your hotel room.
Technically, we're supposed to do that here in Kentucky as well. The governor's asked, like, if you travel out of state
Yeah. So
to quarantine yourself.
he obviously lied about that. But is that a jailable offense? That's the question.
Yeah, well, he was arrested.
I wouldn't think so, but
I mean, I know it is, but should it be?
yeah.
It's a really crappy thing to do,
Yeah.
for sure. I don't know. Maybe we should make a website to shame him so that other people can come and harass him. Twitch, ever since Amazon bought Twitch, it has definitely become more corporate. It's lost some of the luster, maybe, of the Twitch, the old spirit of Twitch. But it's also making a lot more money and has a lot more capital to throw around. However, it seems to be devolving more into the nonsense of some of the current political correctness, and this definitely seems to go that way.
Ban non-inclusive voice chat, suggests Twitch Advisory Council member. So I went down the rabbit hole on this, and I really don't know how much of this is the internet losing their mind and how much of this is a legitimate complaint. The one thing that I do know is that Twitch has an advisory council now, and some of the members are controversial. And if you do the research on that, there's just it's a black hole of time. Like, you can spend as much time looking into it as you want, and it's like, I don't know.
I'm reading some of these tweets, and I'm kind of like, I just don't understand it, because if you don't like voice chat, you can just turn it off. Like, I very seldom get in voice chat in Overwatch.
No, but so Ferociously Stiff is arguing that, and I don't get, okay, so I don't know if this is because some people can't speak or hear, or language differences or what, but Ferociously Stiff is saying that it is an advantage and must be destroyed to even the playing field. I don't really understand why.
I'm assuming maybe she's thinking, assuming it's a she, that
No.
they're thinking.
Funnier than
I mean,
you
you
can
know
imagine.
nowadays.
It's
But,
funnier
like,
than you can imagine, Krista. You didn't watch the video, did you?
I didn't watch the video. No,
No, you might want to watch
I just
the
looked at
video.
their username and read their tweets. I'm assuming that they're thinking, like, if you're a woman and you're getting into a game and then you go into voice chat and you get harassed. I've had that happen, but, like, I just don't get into voice chat. I just make the decision not to participate in that way and participate using text chat.
But
it's
this
fine.
This is specifically talking about competition. So you wouldn't expect harassment, especially if it were, like being streamed live or something. It's talking about an advantage. So what is the advantage?
You can do it in real time, I guess.
Harass
Like,
someone in real time?
Not harass someone, but, like, give out voice calls. But some people don't feel comfortable with being on voice chat.
So would you say,
Because they've
like,
been harassed before.
could
And
it
it's
be
like,
that
oh, if I talk, then suddenly someone's going to be like, oh, it's a girl. And then suddenly you don't get to play competitively anymore. Then the whole chat becomes, let's talk about how this person's a girl. And it's like, it's just exhausting.
what if
I understand it, but at the same time, just don't get into voice chat.
let's just say hypothetically, totally hypothetically, it's important that we say that, you had a female username, but your voice was super, super deep.
Hello.
Again, you should watch the video. Last week, the Star Wars blaster was the reason that the Canadian police came down and smashed a girl's nose and embarrassed themselves, although they probably feel good about it. And this week, it's an older but more trustworthy weapon and the same response.
The thing happened. Armed police called to night with a sword. Yeah, it was just a cosplay guy. That's all.
Not a real sword.
Nope. He had a better result than she did, though.
They took selfies with him and let him go. But what kind of world do we live in? Because this was people snitching.
Yeah.
People calling and be like, there's a sword. And then all this guy was doing was jogging because he wanted to get used to the weight of his fake armor.
Dude, can you imagine living in a community where you've never seen a LARPer before?
Yeah. I mean,
It's always fun to watch. Like, it's like, oh, look, the LARPers are out. Like, if you're close to a park.
if I saw a guy with a sword in like the full cloak and everything, I would almost feel safer than if a guy was just in street clothes with a sword.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody
Yeah.
looks like they're a meth addict and they're carrying a sword, that's like, let's give them a
That's
wide
red
berth.
flag for me.
If you have the full cloak and armor versus the Insane Clown Posse t-shirt, I feel like you should give them a benefit of the doubt. Right?
They've obviously got their shit together enough to get together a full set of armor, whereas that guy might have just robbed some LARPer's house.
Now, if you've got the Machete and Stone Cold Steve Austin t-shirt, I'm immediately calling the cops. I'm afraid of that. Tanzania.
Punisher shirt.
The what shirt?
The Punisher shirt.
Oh,
It's
God.
always the Punisher, yeah.
The pickup trucks with the Punisher sticker in the back and like,
Never
like
a good time.
the big tires and stuff. They always want to race the Corvette. Like, that's the kind of guy that wants to take off at the red light. You can set your watch to that. Tanzania. They the leader of Tanzania has been a little bit skeptical of the virus. He has he's kind of a thoughts and prayers kind of guy. He doesn't believe that it's a real thing. And maybe he's making this up, or maybe this is just a situation where both sides of it are crazy. But this is alarming to hear about this.
President queries Tanzania test kits for the thing after goat test, not just the goat test. We also reported last week, I think, on a pawpaw testing positive. They looked into this, and it turns out their tests may be faulty because they tested a goat and the pawpaw that we reported on previously. Those tested positive. They physically cannot test positive.
So these were donated tests that you send off and get the results.
Something is wrong.
All came back positive.
Mm.
But at the same time, he announced that it was all fake in terms of testing, and it was just being used to control them. And Madagascar had a cure, and he had sent and ordered some of that cure, and it would be there soon. So
this is not going to end well for Tanzania.
if you're in Tanzania, you're probably doomed. I'm sorry.
Tanzania's not doing real hot anyway right now because they've had a lot of flooding. It's a bad time. Bad time.
Yeah, imagine so. The data breaches usually go in the security section, but this one, the irony was just too great. It was so great that it overcame the boundary and had to go in the nonsense section. Although, if you think about it, this was bound to happen.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just a matter of time.
Criminal forum trading stolen data suffers an ironic data breach. So people that participated, their names, emails, all the kind of stuff that you might have on a forum, some past private messages, all leaked.
I love this.
It's just this little image of the Lego man.
The Lego criminal is stealing from the iMac.
Although, what is he climbing up to?
He's going to climb in through the screen.
There's no entrance there.
Well,
There's at least his body length left to the screen.
he can shuffle up.
How much does that pack weigh?
There's at least 12 terabytes of data in that pack.
So, if you have been dealing on that particular dark web forum, I guess protect your identity. I don't know. How many people use their real identity on there anyway? That would be really stupid.
Not good.
This is a great story because we've all been
Headline?
in meetings. Say what?
No, continue. Just the headline's so good.
And the picture. I really like the picture. We've all been
Yeah.
in meetings that are insanely boring, and we really don't want to be there.
And it could have been an email.
But you have to, and you have to pretend that you're paying attention, even though you know none of it actually matters. And that's especially true when you're in government because there are television cameras behind you.
Japan politician gets snappy after busted watching an alligator video
Get it?
during a diet meeting.
Get it? He gets snappy.
Yeah.
That's it's upsetting because we can't use that now as a title. We try really hard to come up with puns every week. And
So-
that one's just taken from us.
Maybe the chat can help us come up with the 3 titles this week.
Apparently
Oh,
that was... Oh, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
No, sorry, I keep interrupting you. You go.
Oh, it was a 5-minute video about a snake fighting an alligator. And his first excuse was, oh, I just watched 5 seconds of that. And they immediately responded with, no, it was 5 minutes. We watched the whole thing of a snake fighting the alligator. And then he was like, oh, it was playing, but I wasn't paying attention to the video. I was paying attention.
He looks wrapped in this image. he is into it.
I mean, wouldn't you be if it's a snake
Yeah.
fighting an alligator?
I wish they'd link to the video.
Isn't that like Batman versus Superman? I mean, who wouldn't watch that?
Yeah. I got to think, what's the size? Is it a big anaconda or something? I got so many questions about the video.
It lost and it immediately had to go to the ATM.
Foreshadowing. Some people might want to take out their aggression on this virus. It's certainly disrupting our way of life. It might have killed some of your loved ones. It makes sense that you hate it and you want to attack it because it's, invisible and ephemeral. You can't get your hands around its neck. But what if you could? That would be a good thing, right? Unless you made it insanely racist.
A St. Louis County restaurant faces fierce backlash over a racist piñata. At first I was like, how could they? And then I was like, oh.
And then you look at the image and you're like, whoa. What's crazy about that is if they wanted to, be like, oh, I can't believe China did this. Like, they could have just printed a Chinese flag, but they were like, no, we're going to go full racist with it.
They gave it the coolie hat and the Fu Manchu, and
Wow.
pretty bad.
Oh, that's terrible. That's really bad.
What's worse is that Camilla's Tex-Mex in Eureka, Missouri was open during the quarantine. Now, they said they only opened because it was a really heavy rainstorm and some people were caught out in it. But why were you caught out in a rainstorm at the Tex-Mex restaurant, which should be closed?
Yeah.
Yeah, who was there to open the doors for him?
Wow.
And they pointed out that the crowd was not masked and they were not distanced at all. They were all around the same tables. Why did these two people get their faces? Well, those were kids, aren't they?
That's
The kids didn't know they were being horribly racist.
They were probably the ones that got to whack the pinata.
They get a pass.
yeah.
So-
I don't think a kid would understand that. An adult definitely would, though.
So yeah, and they got some. They were saying that the character was Hispanic,
No.
but none of
No.
those are
No.
traditional Hispanic features. So it's not illegal, but they are catching some flack online, and they have taken down.
That's
Pinata.
horrifying.
And again, we can't blame. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't blame the Chinese people.
If they're going to be racist, they should be creatively racist, like a pinata Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, it's the government.
pointed
It's
that
the
out in the
Chinese
chat.
government
Come
that you
on.
want to go after, not the poor Chinese people. The poor. If we've learned anything from the pandemic, it's that the Chinese people they have no control over what's going on.
They got locked in their apartment buildings. I mean,
Literally welded in.
can you imagine if they did? I mean, they're doing that with the nursing homes here for the elderly people, and it's like, good luck, elderly people, you're on your own. And so it's like turning into Lord of the Flies with octogenarians.
So, come on, let's cut them some slack. And like you say, if you just put Jinping's face on everything, that's the way to go.
If you're going to be horribly racist.
Yeah. Well, no, that's not even racist. That's just this one guy.
Anti-politician. Yeah.
We're not judging a race. It's this guy.
This guy handled it badly.
It's okay to hate individuals. That's perfectly fine. As you alluded, when you go to the ATM, there are certain things that you don't expect, and one of those is a big-ass snake.
Bank customers shocked to see a 2-meter snake using their ATM. So apparently the snake crawled into the ATM through the light hole.
They've got right there.
Yeah.
See him going in.
And then the ATM operator had to get it out and put it in a bag, and they called like a snake handler, and it was fine. But, you know, I wouldn't use that ATM if I were you.
Oh. I just sneezed.
The snake slime still all over it. Disgusting.
Ugh.
Look at him. He's a big one, but they said that he was not a venomous snake. Actually, they said poisonous, and that's wrong.
Yeah, it's venomous. Actually,
They said it was probably a snake that eats rats.
Yeah, like
A
a
rat
garden snake. Oh, that is a big. If I saw that snake, even if I knew it was like a garden snake variety, I would be probably kill it.
Yeah,
'cause
I would just nope out. Like, nope.
I don't know if that's like the Christian conditioning, like the stories or whatever. They say the snakes get a bad rap because of the Christian creation story, but if that's the case, I don't know. It's worked because I'm not having that snake around. He would totally kill that poor little bird in my bushes. He wouldn't think twice about it.
they just eat it whole.
Yeah, that wouldn't even be a snack to him. That'd be like 40 calories for him. And finally, Narcity. I don't know what narcity.com is, but they have a poor understanding of face masks because they say that these are totally ideal.
This New Orleans local created a face mask that is perfect for sipping cocktails, which is the totally unironical headline, or is it?
It's a mask with a hole in it.
Yeah.
You know what you would normally call a mask that's damaged? No. And these things are $26.
Macomber's mask has been quite a hit in her community, and now the word is spreading about them quickly. You know what else is spreading from those masks? The corona.
Is this like when they added, a zipper to your fly in your pants? Because it doesn't seem like that would be good in this situation either.
I got to think that the virus could make it through the teeth in the zipper, right?
Yeah.
Now, again, cloth masks at the best of times are not useful at stopping it, I don't think. So maybe this makes no difference. But
I think
it's stupid.
the studies say, what is it, like 40, 50%
Nah, I think it's way less than that.
effectiveness?
For,
think
like,
it's around
as a
that.
whole, in terms of like stopping communicability because it keeps your garbage in, maybe like 40, 50. But you personally being protected, like if a wave of virus washes over you, I think it's like single digit effectiveness.
Probably,
like somebody that's like breathing and coughing lots of particles into the air, it's not really going to protect you from that. But
if they're wearing one,
yes,
which is why it's so important for the no mask team to get on the mask team. Otherwise, we're just at their mercy.
Also, there was one more story.
Oh, I forgot.
I put it in Discord.
Oh, okay, good.
This is the most important story we cover. If you take nothing away from the news this week, chat, this is the one you take away.
One more story, and then you can ask questions. So hang in there and update if we did a good job and blah, blah, blah.
Okay, Krista, you can do the lead-in for this one and the headline.
A hippo named Fiona just received the sweetest birthday gift from her boyfriend Timothy.
That wasn't a lead-in.
Look at her. Look how happy she is.
That's an edible arrangement.
It's not even Valentine's Day, and Timothy cared enough because they can't see each other because of the Rona.
I can't tell. Do you think there's any apples in that?
Looks like there's apple slices, maybe.
I think that's pineapple.
Because I was thinking for one of the titles, Fiona's Apples.
We actually got there was somebody that gave us $5 a while ago and said, "Fight gators, get paid," which is pretty good.
Does it really make sense in the context?
Yeah, it does, because it was the snakes versus gators fight, and then the snake
got paid. Oh, you think he won the fight? Maybe he took the gator's wallet after dispatching him.
Yeah.
And was cashing. Maybe like held him down, constricted him, and he was like, "Give me your pen."
Robert McLeod says, "Hello from the middle of nowhere in New Zealand on 100 megabit fiber. I love you guys. Keep it up." Gizmo says, enjoy every video. Always look forward to teams wise and witty comments. Keep it up. Nixter Magister gave us $100 and says, "Toast and crouton need some extra treats." Tech Potato is here. Dr. C. Hopefully still there. He might have gotten bored and left, but it's probably still there. Then Orion Agape, thanks for the entertainment. Zachary Andrew, my rights will not be quelled by the Fed boys. Philip Branham says, do you have any PCIe pass-through and ZFS tutorial? And then somebody else said, can you do an updated FreeNAS build similar to Nosferatu and tutorials for jails and VMs? We are working on an updated FreeNAS build it's not FreeNAS anymore, it's called TrueNAS, or TrueNAS Core. So that's a thing.
Did you point out that Fiona's boyfriend sent her the flowers?
He did, yeah. I did mention
question what bank issued him a credit card?
Well, that was the whole reason the snake had to get the...
He was working for Thomas the Hippo?
Yeah, I think we've just got the plot for Madagascar 3.
He lives in San Antonio. He's really excited about SpaceX coming, but, Fiona's kind of like, I don't think that's going to happen.
What if Fiona finds out that a gator died for her edible arrangement, and it spoils her love for Thomas?
She's turned 3. And I'm like, what's the age of consent for hippos? Is that
Do we know that they've made it? I thought they had like a long distance relationship.
I think it's a long distance thing, but maybe they'll hope that they mate eventually. Another $50 from Nixter. I didn't forget about Roost treats. I will give Roo treats. Thank you.
The greenie treats are quite expensive. The big jug lasts about a month, and it's $25 or $30.
They were on sale the other day for $8.99.
Was the big jug?
It's not it's like the one that's like a little bigger than this mug. So it's like a little taller and a little wider.
The big jug is like 4 of those.
Oh, okay.
So they would go through that in a week.
I only give Mom's cat like 8 at a time.
Yeah, but I got 2.
Oh,
so
yeah.
16 a day times 2. They go fast.
I usually give Roo one a week because the dog ones are even more expensive.
I'm wondering if Crouton might have something wrong with his eyesight, because I throw the treats and he'll like romp over to where it is and then just sort of like look around like Stevie Wonder.
He can't find it. Maybe he's sniffing for it.
I don't know. And then he eventually sees it and eats it, but I don't know. It's like slow. Meanwhile, Toast is constantly trying to get that treat that he's not capitalizing on.
That's not good. One of your cats is at an evolutionary disadvantage.
Oh, he's such a slow eater too. It's ridiculous
You
how
really
slow
to
he
enjoy
eats.
it.
Well, he's not eating the whole time. Like he'll eat, and then he'll look back at me and like smack his lips for a while and still clean a paw. And I'm like, asshole, because I have to stand there because Toast will steal his food if I don't. And he just like leisurely goes back to it. It takes me like 15 minutes to feed him now.
John Prine died from the thing, according to Joe Mello. Oh, and somebody earlier mentioned, Tech Potato mentioned, I don't know who John Prine is, but Conway, Conway's Game of Life, the mathematician, he died.
Oh.
Who was the other guy we were talking about? I've already forgotten. Oh, Double Rainbow. You know what? I'm putting Double Rainbow guy above both of those guys.
He's not being confirmed.
Well, I hope you guys had a good time on the Level 1 news live stream. We try to do this like once a month, but we forgot for like 2 months in a row.
And then we almost forgot today, and then I was like, were we supposed to do this live? And we were like, oh no.
Yeah, doing it live takes a lot more out of you too.
I don't know. I think
It's not too bad.
we'll get more used to it because you just don't get the breaks. That's the thing. Remember when we used to do all at once on the bad chairs?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That
the
was rough.
stools.
Yeah, with the tall, with the countertop. Then we get the old height adjustable table, which is nice.
It was literally a bar that we got on Craigslist for like, I don't even remember how, it was only like a couple $100, I think.
Which is in some contractor's basement now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God knows what's happening on that bar.
It's like, why did you forsake me? No. Does anybody have any questions before we go?
We should do a Q&A again, too. We haven't done a Q&A in a while.
Yeah, that would be good. We actually have gotten a few questions from people on Patreon and Floatplane.
Do you guys have meat substitutes? I bought some imitation crab last time we went to the store, but it is technically still meat. It's pollock, I think.
What's that disgusting egg substitute? Oh, egg beaters.
Egg beaters, yeah.
Are there no eggs in egg beaters?
I don't think so.
The meat situation here is not that bad. I did pay $11 for a steak yesterday, and not a big one either. So the beef
I've heard that they're
prices
getting
are-
more expensive. Like, it's not that they're out, it's just that they've like dramatically increased the price.
Well, it's the meat packing plants.
Yeah.
So it's like, I managed to get some chicken breasts, and I had to get bone ribs in chicken breasts the other day, and I was not good at separating the ribs. I left a lot of meat on those bones.
Alton Brown has a video for that, like where you like smack it or hit it or something, and then cut it in a certain place, and then it just falls apart.
Well, it's too late now.
Well, it's for next time. How many code languages do you know? Oh God, I don't. But how many do I know well? Like 0?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it possible to really feel like you know anything in this field?
Super imposter syndrome every day.
That's like you get a new project that uses that, and then like, when can you call yourself a programmer in a language?
After you create some sort of horrible abomination in that language.
So day 2.
Day 2.
But you don't realize it's an abomination until you go back to work on it a year later.
We were talking about that in the office the other day, because a project is shutting down, and we had to go back and look at some old code. And it's like, oh, we were so innocent.
It's going to be someone else's new nightmare.
Bless their souls.
It's like, we were cornered into doing terrible things. This wasn't by choice. We just had to do it this way.
Yeah, I love how many times we've gone back to look at stuff, and it's like, why did we make this decision? This is insane. But luckily we have the activity tracker, and we go back and it's like, oh, they told us to do this.
Yeah.
Why did it?
Who came up
I'll
with this
be
inventory
honest.
management scheme? This is great. Oh, that wasn't us. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. We'll see you. Thanks again, everybody that gave us money. Appreciate it. See you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, in by the skin of their teeth. Evocative production. Love the show. $2.
The buy
you.
worked. You
Yeah,
got it out
I
this
changed
time.
the setting in Discord, and I think that helped.
I think some people were secretly enjoying the clipping, but this is good too.
It's a weird week.
Oh. Orion the Gape says, why is everything server so complicated? All right. Thanks. Bye.
No